All right. I think we are live. I hope we're alive. It's good to be alive, actually. But hey,
I
this
I
this
literally
is
can't
the
hear anything.
serum.
So
Oh, okay.
um,
Hey,
all I can
hey,
say
Paul.
is I'm Paul Greenberg.
There you go. All right. So we're having some technical issues with the sound on Mr. PG's part, but we are still going to try to persevere and overcome these issues here. So we are going to, do what we came here to do, which is check out the keynote, the Dreamforce keynote, kind of do some, commenting as we go along. I see that right now they're doing the opening ceremony. There it is, kind of getting started as they usually do. This is how they open it up. Got to give them serious notes for consistency here. Hey, Paul, can you hear me? Do you want to try talking? Okay, Paul. What we're gonna do? We're gonna go to Plan B here. We're gonna go to
Yeah,
Plan B.
they've done that every year. They've literally done that every.
Yep, we have some latency issues here.
Yeah, I no, I can actually hear you, but I'm well. But there is a lag.
There definitely is a lag. What we're gonna try
Oh
to do
wow,
here. Yeah, there's a lag here.
not gonna work.
Now, I think, Paul, we're gonna pull up our players in residence while we try to work through this. Sorry, folks. This is an unfortunate occurrence. Something just literally happened. So we're gonna put Paul into the green room, and we're gonna bring up the folks that we depend on in situations like this. We're gonna bring up El Nicole,
Well, hello.
and
I
we're
feel like
gonna
I need
bring
to do the hand gesture every time there's an Al Nicole.
we're gonna bring up Ginger Conlon.
Hey
There you
everyone.
are. There
Hey,
you
Ginger.
are. This is going to be interesting. Maybe we can have Paul try to work on this and bring him back. So I'm gonna remove him while he feverishly works away, and we're all here together to check out the keynote. So we're gonna press on. Hopefully, we'll get able to get Paul back. But in the meantime, here we are, folks. Oh,
I
and I'm
feel
gonna make
like we should start with a big "Oh, Hana."
I'm gonna start with like removing the CRM players from my face.
Hey,
Here,
now we can see you.
I feel like we're here. Okay, we're gonna pull through this, folks, and hopefully, Paul, whenever you want to give it a shot, let me know. I will be on the lookout. So there it is. Okay. All right. Well, we're in the. Should we go ahead and start bringing in the James Corden? I mean, he's probably. Oh, now we got the forward-looking statement. I'm going to go ahead and bring the
it's getting
sound
serious.
in. Yeah, I'm going to bring the sound in, and so we'll check it out, and we'll
Join that.
kind of comment on the side. So here we go, folks.
Now, with that behind us, let's get this show started.
Yeah, that was perfect timing.
Yeah, nice work. It's almost like
Nice.
you've done
What's
this
the
for a
first thing
while.
that comes to mind when you think 2020? It's tempting to start with the crisis. Heck, it's hard not to. The world changed overnight. We're all moving faster, and we had to reimagine everything. This new normal isn't somewhere off in the distance. We are living it now. Zooms are the new conference rooms, kitchens are call centers, bedrooms are classrooms, e-commerce is just commerce, period. And customers expect companies to make it all work. But after a little time, something else stands out. How people around the world came together. Lifting each other up, creating, adapting, thriving. And while there's still plenty of uncertainty in our world, one thing is certain. We'll succeed together.
I think Lori's right.
For over 20 years, we've been in the business of customer success, helping companies connect with their customers in a whole new way. With Customer 360, we're helping teams unite around the customer and solve for whatever the world throws at them, with a belief that business is the greatest platform for change. That instead of moving fast and breaking things, we should be moving fast and fixing things. And that every step of the way, our incredible community of trailblazers will show us the path to success. A lot changed in 2020, but what
Who's our
will
Mr.
never change
LinkedIn user today?
is how we get through tough times. We may be apart,
Somebody
but
who
we'll never stop
values their
succeeding
security
together.
setting.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what Dreamforce is all about.
Protect the
Especially
identity.
this Dreamforce.
We'll see what the rest of the
So sit
commentary.
back in your makeshift kitchen office, garage office, or
Oh,
magical dream
Monique, yeah,
castle
I'm
office,
always kind of
whatever.
slightly unfocused. Sorry.
And let us bring the Dreamforce
Hello, back
magic
to Karen.
to you.
Yeah.
Because, well, you know.
Hey, Mark.
Jeremy. We'll be seeing Jeremy a little later today.
Please welcome Salesforce Chair and CEO, Marc Benioff.
Okay, here
Chairman
we go, folks.
and CEO of Salesforce, and I am coming to you live right here in San Francisco at Salesforce Park. You can see right here, Salesforce Tower is right behind me, and I'm so excited to be here today. I've been dreaming about having this Dreamforce for a long time, but it is not the Dreamforce that I wanted. It's not the Dreamforce that I wanted. It's the Dreamforce that any of us really wanted. You want to know why? Because Dreamforce is all about you. Dreamforce is all about you and all of us getting together and having a great time, inspiring each other, motivating each other, rising each other up, doing great acts for others. The Dreamforce is an incredible moment every year when we all get together. But here we are. We are together. We're together digitally. We're coming together spiritually. We're coming together in new ways. And that's what this Dreamforce is all about. It's a Dreamforce we'll never forget. It's definitely a unique Dreamforce. And this is going to be one of the most exciting presentations we have ever done for Salesforce. So I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to Dreamforce 2020. And we have a great day. First of all, let me thank James Corden. Wasn't he great? Wasn't James amazing? And I want to thank the Akakas also. Incredible what they were doing, all the way from Kilauea Volcano in Hawaii.
Really?
Thank you, Danny and Anna, for always opening Dreamforce. And we have a lot of other special plans for you today. We have some great customer stories, some very special guests. And what would Dreamforce be without Metallica? So stay tuned for Metallica, because Lars and the entire band is here. Really exciting to have Lars here, our San Francisco band.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say,
Lenny Kravitz also is
casual
here.
Mark
What would
Benioff.
Dreamforce be without
Not
Lenny
typical
Kravitz?
Dreamforce.
I'm
So
digging
we
the
have a
casual.
great event for
I
you.
like it.
And that's today. That's right now. That's over the next hour. But Dreamforce is not just about the next hour. It's also about 2 weeks from now at Dreamforce TX, an incredible new conference that we have that's going to have 300 new sessions. That will be December 14th through 17th. That will be amazing. That's when all of us will get together, share best practices, present new ideas, inspire each other digitally online. And one more thing. One more very important thing. We've created a new type of Dreamforce. We have componentized Dreamforce, and we have enabled our Salesforce sales
Well, listen,
executives
last year was Louis Vuitton,
to be
so
able
at
to
least he's not
present
wearing Louis Vuitton
Dreamforce
sneakers.
to you. To you.
I'm digging
Isn't
the
that
cool,
cool?
casual.
So we've already done,
foresty
in
look.
anticipation of this, 4,000 Dreamforces. And we're going to do more than 100,000 Dreamforces. That's right. We've already
Wow.
done more than 4,000 Dreamforce 2020s. Isn't that cool? And we're going to do more than 100,000 Dreamforce 2020s. And our Salesforce executives have put together an incredible program that they can bring directly to you. Amazing. So just contact your Salesforce executive right now. And if you can't get a hold of them, just email
Good
me,
old Alan.
co@salesforce.com, and I'll send them right to you. However you want to receive them, they are ready to go. That is going to be really cool. And believe me, in all the Dreamforce to use that I've already attended, I mean, there's been 4,000 of them already. They are incredible. They've got not just the product technology, not just the inspiration, the entertainment. It's highly customized for every customer. So please, let us bring Dreamforce to you. Now look, I'm here to inspire you. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to motivate you. But let me tell you one thing that I'm really here to do. I'm here to thank you. I am here to thank you, each and every one of you. I want to thank you for everything that you do for us every day. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for all the giving that you have done. Thank you for all the support you have given us. Thank you. And you know what? Thank you to our healthcare workers this year. I mean, they are beyond words what they have done for all of us. Thank you to our essential workers. Thank you to our scientists. Thank you for everyone who's trying to stop this pandemic. And thank you for everyone who has helped when there's people who have been sick. Thank you. We are deeply grateful at Salesforce. Our hand is over our heart. We want to say to each and every one of you, thank you. And to all of our trailblazers, everywhere, and everything you've done, and all the people who have supported me personally this year, thank you. Nothing is possible without you, our trailblazers. It's our trailblazers, our Ohana, our family. You know, this is like a family reunion. You all know that. Every year we come here to San Francisco, and well, it's incredible. Well, it's the first time I've done my keynote outside.
No, it's the move to television.
Not the first time I've done it with Santa Claus. I've done that before.
Totally different audience interaction, as in there isn't any.
And I'll tell you, Dreamforce inspires me, and I'll tell you why it inspires me. Because I so strongly believe that business is the greatest platform for change. Yes, business is the greatest platform for change. There's so many exciting things that Salesforce has done as I look around this great city, San Francisco, and across the bay to Oakland. You know, I think about our schools. We've given away more than $120 million to our local San Francisco and Oakland public schools. Incredible working with all of our teachers, our principals, our amazing superintendents here in the Bay Area. And we've given away hundreds of millions of dollars to our local public hospitals.
Personal, but not personal.
And that has been more important than ever, especially this year. And we've even created policy now that gives hundreds of millions of dollars in new services to our homeless, which we badly need here in San Francisco and in so many of our cities in the United States. Look, we believe in stakeholder capitalism. What that means is, look, our shareholders have had a fantastic return. You know, since we went public in 2004, a 5,000% return. But our stakeholders have also had a fantastic return. 50,000 nonprofits and NGOs who run for free on our service. Hundreds of millions of dollars in grants. Amazing. All of the volunteerism that has happened. And I'll tell you one last one that's so important to me, and I'm going to hit on this again soon. We're a net zero company because the planet is a stakeholder. Well, imagine my surprise in March of this year when I got a call from just a few blocks away from here at UCSF. My friend Sam Hoggood, the chancellor of UCSF, called me. And you know what he said? He said, Mark, we're running out of PPE. But Sam, I don't know what PPE is. I said, Mark, it's the personal protective equipment we need to protect our healthcare workers. And we need masks and gloves, and we need goggles, and we need all of these things. And I said, I don't know what it is, but we're going to find it. And in fact, we did. We found 60 million pieces of PPE and distributed it not only to SAM, but to over 300 hospitals in need this year. And a lot of that help in distribution and acquisition and in the support during this pandemic, things we have really needed to provide, actually came in partnership from you, our trailblazers. That's another opportunity for me to say, thank you. Thank you. Mahalo nui loa again. Thank you for everything that you do for us every day. And here's a quick video that we made about what we've been doing this year in partnership with you to support this PPE effort.
Okay, just before the video runs, Paul, can you hear us? Paul, now?
Perfectly.
This is UCSF Medical Center asking
Okay, we're going to
Salesforce
drop.
for help.
I feel like
This is a team
watching
being assembled
golf thing or
overnight.
something. We're going to drop our players and
These
residents
are not medical
back
supply
into the green
distribution
room.
specialists.
Thank you.
This is
Thanks,
Salesforce
guys.
asking Alibaba for help. This is not a man who speaks
I'm in my
Mandarin.
Jim Nance voice right now.
This
Okay.
is a woman who speaks Mandarin. And this is her ordering 500,000 surgical masks for delivery to UCSF. This is big. This is not big. This is nothing. This is a new goal.
Is that 9 zeros?
The only goal. This is a start. This is momentum. This is daunting.
Hey babe, what pan do you use for fajitas? Where is it?
This is not straightforward. This is a logistical nightmare. This is not a normal time to be working. This is a moment of doubt. This is Salesforce getting others involved. This is a movement. This is working. This is 60 million pieces of PPE delivered to frontline workers all over the world in a matter of weeks, even the island of Hawaii. This is Trailblazers stepping up. This is business as a platform for change. But this is also a mask, and you should wear one.
You want to know why I love Salesforce? I mean, there's so many reasons why I love Salesforce. But it's because we're doing well and doing good. And I love that video. It really shows this year what we were asked to do through all of you and what we did with all of you, and we couldn't have done it without you. Doing well and doing good is what is driving our culture forward, whether it's innovation or philanthropy, our culture. And now look at what you have created, our Trailblazers. Look at what you have created. A company next year that will do over $25.5 billion. Look at the growth that you have achieved. This company is all coming through you. We recognize that. I mean, we're going to do 21.1 billion this year, 25.5 billion next year. There's never been an enterprise software company that has grown so fast. And do you want to know why it is? It's because of you. It's because of what you have done. You've created this amazing #1 CRM. Look at our market share. How is this possible? People ask me all the time, how is it possible? And I say, you know what? Have you met our Trailblazers? Have you met our Trailblazers? They're incredible. And do you know what they're doing? They're not only creating these amazing numbers, but they're creating the Salesforce economy. 4.2 million new jobs, a trillion in new business revenue worldwide.
That's the Salesforce impact on the economy, not the Salesforce economy.
It's the whole Salesforce economy that's everywhere. You know that.
It's an
that's
impact.
Who you are.
It's integrated.
We recognize that in you.
I know from marketing purposes you have to say things like that, but
we could not do our job and be our
Salesforce economy, SAP economy. The economy is not built only around tech companies.
Together.
And the numbers big enough where you really don't have to
and I'm
say
inspired by so many of you all over the world. It's impossible for me to just call out one or another. You know, but look, Jonathan Fox, wow. In the UK, veteran, became Salesforce developer, now leads community groups and helping others. That's a key hallmark of a Trailblazer. A Trailblazer loves thy neighbor as thyself. A Trailblazer is someone who is helping others, especially this year during this pandemic. Thank you, Jonathan Fox, and thank you to our millions of Trailblazers for everything that you have done for others. That's so important to us. And we look at the thousands of groups all over the world who have gotten together to help each other at this time. Thank you. That is incredible. You know, together we built this amazing company, doing well and doing good. Business is the greatest platform for change. Those are our mantras. We know that. But look at what else you've built. This amazing platform. You've guided us towards Customer 360. Thank you for that guidance. It's become the world's #1 CRM. These amazing market-leading apps. Amazing in sales. And by the way, there's never been a more important time in sales. The number of B2B sales forces this year who are active and calling, mostly from home, calling at every level, have been the lifeblood of business in this country and around the world.
Because they're actually kind of building out an actual platform on the right,
and building commerce,
kind of
digital
evolving
commerce.
from the thing on the
Did you
left
see
and
that we
moving to this
processed
platform
31 million
on the
orders
right,
this
which they
weekend for
ordinarily
holiday?
haven't done.
Incredible. And that was up 60%, year over year. And in every other key area that we operate in with partnership with you, whether it is in integration or
this is a platform-focused company.
Wherever we go,
always has been.
This is the unique Customer 360 value
really
proposition
now in
that you have created with us.
That they released
your
yesterday.
Success, your community that we serve.
The one thing about them, they're laser focused.
And you've created the world's #1 CRM, the fastest time to value of any platform that has the scalability and flexibility.
These comments are coming in so quickly that
result.
when I try to click on one,
thank you again. I get to say it one more time.
Jumps to the new one.
And now we have one more surprise. We're making our platform even stronger. You may have seen the news already. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. We've always had the vision of the social enterprise at Salesforce. Oh, that's been for more than a decade. Oh, we've had Dreamforce is entirely dedicated to the vision of what a collaborative interface, a high productive interface with
He called it
applications and an
social
ecosystem will
enterprise,
look like,
which he
wrapped on
dropped years
top of
ago
our customer
deliberately because the
360.
UK was so
We thought
upset.
about it for
Does
years.
that mean a
And right
charitable
there,
organization
actually
in the
the building
UK?
right next door to Salesforce Park, guess what? There's an amazing company right there that has been executing the vision of the social enterprise, a vision
Wow,
of a
that's a
truly
stretch.
collaborative product,
That's a
social
stretch.
product. It's incredible. And I want to tell you that now we have brought Slack into the Customer 360. So it can provide a comprehensive interface to all of our services.
Stop putting these
It's
comments
amazing.
up 'cause
It's an amazing
I literally
vision.
can't get to the one I
Now look
want
it.
because it jumps to the
It's
next
not my
one.
vision. I want to introduce you to a couple of people who have had this vision, and they're going to explain it to you. So first of all, let me introduce you to an incredible entrepreneur, an incredible CEO, the founder of Slack, Stuart Butterfield. Stuart, come on out here.
I knew it. You knew he was going to be there.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great to see you. I wish I could give you a hug, but we're
Yeah.
staying 6 feet apart.
We got 10 feet. Easy. That's good because then you can't see how much shorter I am.
Congratulations, Stuart. You know, we're so excited, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have Slack part of Salesforce. So can you just tell us, you know, you and Brett Taylor, our COO, have kind of come up with this magical vision of the future. I mean, it's inspired me. It's inspired so many other people. Can you tell
Hopefully we'll
us, what do
get
you
there.
see going forward?
Sure. That's the perfect setup. We see this spectrum, and I think everyone listening to this, think about what's happening inside your company.
Amen, Christie.
At one end of the
With
spectrum,
you
you
on
have
that
these systems, automated processes, machines talking to machines. A customer makes an order, and your inventory is updated.
You know,
Somebody
honestly,
submits
I've never been a
ticket,
big
and that
fan
goes
of
into the
Slack.
queue for response.
I just never been.
One
I mean,
step up from that, you have these applications.
It
Wonderful
seemed like he
applications.
got way
Sales
more
Cloud, Marketing Cloud,
hype
Service
than
Cloud.
it was really
This
deserving.
whole
at
layer
when it
that
was
you
Right.
interact
I've
with.
used it.
And
first
above
thing out
that,
there.
there's the conversations, the social part, the messy
That's a good question.
decision
Scott.
making, the
Yeah.
arguments.
Yeah.
But that's where the action happens. And you, Salesforce, have, you guys invented the cloud, and you've done an incredible job, I think, over the last 20 years of pulling all of these pieces together, making those applications and those systems of records incredibly tight. And Slack, I think, has done a great job in taking that conversational level, the context, the decision making, and bringing it to the applications.
Looks like there's a lot
You
of
put those all
interesting what happens
together,
to
and you really
Chatter.
have the opportunity for end-to-end digital transformation. And that's what's really exciting.
Well, I'll tell you, Stuart, I have to be honest. I've been at home all year, and this is my first time I've basically been out of my home. And let me tell you what's on my desktop. I got
This is a
Salesforce, my
socially
Sales
distanced
Cloud, my
interview.
Service
A
Cloud.
lot of people
I've
are
got
questioning
Tableau
what's the deal
Analytics.
is, but
I'm using Zoom to do
Why
my
would
video
they go so
conferencing.
far
I'm
apart?
off meetings with
That's why they're so
my
far apart. They're
customers
trying
and
to get them
employees
in
all over the world. And I
an
have
angle
Slack.
shot where they can get them
All
all in
three
and
of these
still be safe.
interacting
Well,
and engaging with
And
each
the other
other.
side is,
Is
look,
that your
I mean,
vision
one
of
thing
how
you
the
can
future
always
looks?
say
Are we
about
gonna be
Salesforce
selling
is they're
service
genuinely
marketing?
socially
Are we going to be
responsible
working
company.
from anywhere?
Right.
And they are out there doing
Everywhere.
good. They
And, I feel
externalize
like
their
this
culture
is-
better than any
This
company on
now,
the planet.
this moment,
And
is
this
one
is
that
this
we
is
will remember
both-
a couple decades from now. I think this is
they're
like
trying
the
to
IBM
send the message the
AS
same way at the end of
370.
that
This is
video.
like
They said,
physicality,
and wear a
putting the
mask.
Apple II,
Even though that was kind of
Windows
blatant,
95
but
launch.
that's the
It's
same
like
thing.
the invention of the cloud,
I
like the
think
invention of
this
these things.
this is going to
I
come
think this
up
is
a
a
lot.
pivotal
But what-
moment
what
and
the-
the opportunity
everybody
to
is really
really transform
focused
the
on what's
way
gonna
that we
happen with
work,
Chatter.
so that we're not as
I'm
reliant
just curious.
on the
Did a lot of
physical,
people,
that we can have a
a lot
digital
of customers really depend
Well, we
on
couldn't be
Chatter
more
as is?
excited
I know
to have Slack
Salesforce
as part of
uses it a lot.
Salesforce, and I
Internally.
know your
I
vision
honestly,
of how
I'll
that
say this:
all
if they
integrates
did, they never
together.
talked
And
about it one
also,
way or the
let's
other.
introduce Brett
And
Taylor, who's really been
honestly,
your
I
partner
think a
in
lot of
creating this.
it.
So, Brett, come
I know
on out.
Chatter was very much
Congratulations as
integrated
well.
into a
Thank
lot
you.
of other
Thank
things
you,
they
Stuart.
did.
It's so exciting to see you. So exciting to welcome you to the Salesforce family. Mark, is this crazy? We're outside in a winter wonderland in Salesforce Park. Is this how you pictured?
Happy
Dreamforce
holidays, Brett.
Happy holidays to you too, Mark. This is a crazy year. You know what's so cool about that conversation with Stuart? There could not be a
Is
more
Brett gonna be
relevant
like the new
tool this
Parker?
year. I mean, everyone from
What, wearing a
interacting
weird
with
outfit?
each other to interacting
That's
with your
what I mean.
partners to your
Come out
customers.
in
Everything is going through
in a
tools like
superhero
Slack.
suit.
Everything's gone digital overnight. I mean, I could not think of a more relevant way to make Customer 360 successful for our customers.
Well, you created an amazing new product this year, work.com, that helped us really go after, contact tracing and vaccine management. I'm sure you're going to talk about that. It's amazing. Then you came up with a whole new product, Salesforce Anywhere, so that we could sell, service, market, do all of our work from anywhere. And then all
So
of a
we
sudden
got
you
some- we
came
got
to
some
me
folks in.
with Stuart and you said,
There
now
it
look
is.
at what this looks
All
like when you add Slack. And it's amazing. So
Thanks, Mike.
just give
Thanks,
us a
Marshall.
moment. Where are
Yep.
we going into the future?
Well, Mark, I think we are in an all digital work anywhere world.
An honest,
Dreamforce.
interesting question.
People come to Dreamforce because they want to know what does the future hold, and
myself.
how can we
CBD.
help shape it. Mark, I think we're living the future right now.
Rise, fortunes rise and
doctors'
fall in the
offices
tech
have moved
industry.
to telemedicine.
Right,
I just did a curbside food shot the other day. I think doing business over Zoom, our employees being distributed all around the world, consumer goods companies going direct to consumer via custom apps. We're not going back. The stuff we saw in Cyber Week last week, that's an indicator of the future. And I think that when I look at what does it mean to grow in this new normal, it's Slack plus the Customer 360.
Well, I have to be honest with you, Brad. I'm excited that Metallica is here and also that Lenny Kravitz is here. But I'm very excited about your presentation you're about to give on future technology. So take it away.
So Nicole makes a point.
Happy holidays.
She says, interesting to see that Oracle could talk about supporting
that was a great
Zoom,
introduction
and
to talking
Salesforce
about
is
our
talking about
technology
Slack.
platform. I mean, this year is all about change. We have gone digital
I
overnight.
do feel like we're in a golf show.
And we've been using this phrase with our customers called the
Nicole's point is really important because the next phase for all the
2020.
tech companies is going to
If
be
you
the
don't have a
integration of
digital
communications media
you don't have a
of some
business.
kind. It's like
And
the next,
we're gonna have three
the next
incredible
social
stories
is going to
of
be the
people who have
Zooms, the Slacks,
overcome adversity,
those kind
and
of
remarkably found success.
Microsoft Teams
this year of
integration.
all years with so much personal and professional adversity. And there's one common theme in all three of these stories, and that's that these leaders, these trailblazers are using this year as an opportunity.
Not yet.
An opportunity
Not yet.
to overcome that adversity and accelerate that move into digital.
Again, fortunes rise and fall in
customer
the tech
experience
industry.
and recognize that
I literally
next year is going to
don't even
continue
try
to
to
accelerate
comment
this
on those
move
things.
towards the digital consumer
You
and the
should
digital customer.
put a stake in the ground around that.
Now, as the resident technology geek at Salesforce,
Next-
I
the
talk
next
to a lot
blog
of
post.
CIOs, and I
That chat has
know
been around for
this
that
is
long?
really, really hard in practice. Data silos, legacy systems that feel like an anchor that are preventing you from moving forward and getting to where you want to go.
Microsoft Teams,
And this
Oracle,
is why
Zoom,
we
Salesforce,
created
Slack.
the Salesforce Customer 360.
It's up to SAP to figure out
Salesforce
something now.
Customer 360 is the answer. It's how you can
What's
go
left?
digital
I mean,
fast. It's how you can create a
not a lot to
single
pick
Well,
source of
Salesforce,
truth
if
for
you
your
remember
customers
what
across
was it,
sales,
Demandware, when
customer
they were all that
service,
was left too. So
e-commerce,
who knows? SAP will
marketing,
find something, I
a
imagine.
single source of truth for your
There's
data
always
that you can see and understand with Tableau.
Especially
and with
ultimately-
all those legacy
Well,
systems
ultimately,
so they become an
everybody's
asset
going to have to
rather
do
than a
those kind of
liability.
integrations. I mean,
Now,
with
Mark,
all
I'm
each
not
other.
even sure if you know that I'm announcing this right now, but we have been working for the past 2 years on probably the most significant technological
It's just
shift in this
amazing to me
platform
how
since Mark and
customer
Parker
engagement
created it
and
over
customer
21
interaction
years
is
ago.
driving all of
And we
this.
call this new capability
I have a feeling I know who
Hyperforce.
LinkedIn user is again.
Hyperforce,
Well, we
really
know
simply
that.
put, we've been working to enable us to deliver Salesforce
Jam.
on public cloud infrastructure
Actually, I think
all
they
around the
sunset
world.
Jam. I'm not sure
There's a
that's
ton
actually
of
true.
really cool technical details I'd love to get right now, but I want to focus on how it's going to help you, our developers,
That's true. They did
our
buy
admins,
Jam. That
and
was
our
years
customers.
ago.
Yeah. No,
First,
they
we've
did
had to
actually.
completely
But then
re-architect Salesforce to
Samir
work
actually
in this way.
built the
As a
product.
consequence, it's horizontally
and did a great
scalable.
job with it.
That means that if you have a
Didn't
B2B company with 10,000
Use
customers,
something
or you're a
to
B2C
build
customer
that, or
with 100
maybe
million or more
Huh.
consumers, you can now use Salesforce as your single source of truth for all of that data and really
Okay.
power all of those experiences that you just heard us talking about in Cyber Week. And because we're Salesforce, we built trust right into the platform. Security, compliance, privacy. Whether you're
Well,
a
they used
small
it
business
last
or
year
you're
when
a
they announced their
multinational in a
CDP,
heavily regulated industry like financial services or the public
Wait a minute.
sector, with Hyperforce, you can make Salesforce your engine for growth. And thanks to our incredible
Hyperforce.
partnerships with all
What
of the
exactly
amazing public
is
cloud
this
companies around the
doing?
world,
This-
we are going to
yeah,
deliver this
there
in
was a
every
question that
region
came
where
up
you do
about that
business.
before we even
This
started.
is already live. It's live in India. It's live
Is
in
this
Germany.
is
and we're rolling
Salesforce
out in 10
available on
countries
what?
next year.
AWS,
If you have
Azure,
data residency
Google?
needs, Hyperforce is your key
I
would
to
assume
bringing
those
Salesforce
Oracle?
for your customer.
I'm not
customers
sure
are. Now, for you developers out
what
there,
the big
this is
deal
the most
about this is,
remarkable thing.
or
It is
exactly what they're
100%
announcing
backwards
here.
compatible.
A little
Your
confused,
apps
man,
will
to tell you
work
the
with
truth.
no changes. You can benefit
Well,
from all of
this
this
is a new term that
automatically.
may be used for
Now, you're going to
something
see
that's
these
been going
amazing
around
customer
a while.
stories, and they are all
I
enabled
don't
by
know.
this
It's too
amazing
early
new
to tell
platform.
for me.
It all starts with this single
Yeah.
source of truth. This is the foundation of our
Oh,
platform.
this is the
We are
this is kind of
launching a
the
new
platform.
B2C scale data warehouse that is going to enable
Yeah,
every
exactly.
single marketer around the world to
Okay, well,
create
this is
segments
smart.
and truly create a single source of truth for marketers. And on top of that single source of truth, we have Einstein. This is our incredible point and click and AI This is now powering over 80 billion predictions per day. You probably experienced it last week if you did any e-commerce. It's personalizing web pages. It's helping salespeople prioritize their leads. This is the power of the Customer 360. And on top of Einstein, we enable you to create these incredible experiences to really meet your customers where they are.
No, they actually
Whether it's in a
improve
custom app,
engagement. I
a
wish
website,
this company
a
would get it
channel
straight.
on Slack
They're not
Connect,
creating
or you're
experiences.
creating a chat
Right
bot.
now, Adobe knows how to do
so
that.
many amazing
Oracle's
stories
kind
what
of
our
getting
customers
there.
are doing
No
with
one
this
else
platform.
is creating
And honestly,
actual
Marc, the thing I'm
consumable
so excited
experiences.
about is how
They're
much more
creating
powerful it is now
successful
with Hyperforce.
engagement.
Over 2.5 million
Or at least
terabytes of
engagement
data
opportunities
strong,
that can
helping
turn
all
into
of
that.
you
Well, I
be
mean,
successful.
what they have there
And with
will
that,
create
Marc, I'm going to pass it back
solid
to you to tell us
engagement,
a little
but
bit more about these customer stories.
doesn't create experiences.
That gives you the tools to create the experiences, or at least the
Well, it gives you the
information
tools to create the engagement that leads to a
Brett?
great customer experience.
Amazing. Hyperforce.
but it gets you
What a
further along the
surprise.
way.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's just
Maybe
not.
the
I just
bottom
would.
line.
Great job.
I
I'm
mean,
so
maybe
excited.
it's just because I'm an English major. I
You know,
swear
we're
to
in
God.
an amazing new world. We're in an all digital world. And as you just saw, this isn't the Dreamforce we wanted.
But anything
The
that
Dreamforce we want is
eases
with all
the
of you
process.
here and with us in San
Uh-oh.
Francisco. You know, we want to be celebrating and uniting and coming together and inspiring each other and giving back. But we're doing it today digitally. And this is our new world. We're doing everything from anywhere. And that's why this Slack opportunity is so important. Because when we combine our Customer 360 platform and Hyperforce and everything that Brett just announced, wow, with Slack, takes everything to another level. Gives us the ability to operate our companies from anywhere. Now I'm going to tell you 3 stories. I'm going to tell you 3 amazing stories that happened this year.
2 amazing stories.
And these
and one
3 amazing
tone-deaf one.
stories are all happening live right here in San Francisco. Are you ready for that?
Maybe we'll
Chapter
we'll
1
wait
is really,
to
we
hear
call
it.
intelligence.
No,
It's
it's
amazing.
tone deaf just
But it's
by
a
the
bigger,
subject of it,
more
regardless of how good
exciting,
the story
more
itself
powerful
is.
story than that. Let me tell you, this is
we'll
all
get into
about
it.
the state of Rhode Island. This is all about Gina Raimondo, the governor of Rhode Island. She's an amazing leader. She contacted me earlier this year. She said she's fighting the pandemic. How can Salesforce help the state of Rhode Island battle the pandemic? We have received that phone call from so many governors, so many mayors, so many presidents, so many CEOs from all over the world. We couldn't believe it. And that's why we built so many new products, whether it was contact tracing or vaccine management or whatever we could do to help others, we are going to do it. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually give you an insight into what we've been doing this year. So when you read about some of these stories, now you're going to see some of the faces behind the people who've been doing God's work. Let's take a look at the state of Rhode Island.
If you had told me in February that we'd be having this discussion in November, I would not have believed it.
We didn't know how it would evolve. We didn't know how the curve would go.
23-hour days, sleeping in an apartment.
Am I going to be able to get enough ventilators? Am I going to be able to open up new hospitals?
Education, transportation, the National Guard.
Our systems weren't going to be able to handle that.
This was people's life. This was businesses.
We had to shut down the whole economy, as did every state.
What the governors are in a position of doing is trying to strike that balance between allowing folks to get back to work and school, because they need a job and commerce has to happen, but keep them safe. Enter Salesforce.
You're not looking at raising revenue or improving profitability. This is the business of saving lives. You need excellent partners because there is no room for error. You have to get it right the first time.
Being able to have partners at the table that are eager to roll up their sleeves and see how can we make this work together.
Yep.
And knowing how to pick the right people.
Our partnership with Salesforce has been a game changer. I made a random phone call to the chief executive of your company. He didn't say, how much can you pay? You know, what kind of resources do you need? Who are you, governor? it was, we're in, we want to save lives, we'll be there Monday.
Yeah,
We have to be able to collect
that's
from
the reason
various
I love Marc
laboratories
Benioff,
in
for
real
those
time.
kind of reasons.
All of that
Exactly
takes the innovation, the brilliance, the commitment.
There 100% certainty the partnership with Salesforce has saved lives because it's allowed us to move fast. Every minute matters with this disease.
As the virus moves, the solution also needs to keep up with that. We started with test scheduling, but we had to do case investigation, we had to do contact tracing, and we wanted to make sure that we did it in a safe and secure way.
You want to have checks and balances because you're not just making a decision for one individual, you're making decisions for an entire population.
So it was very important for us to have a single source of truth. And that is why Salesforce and the Customer 360 platform was so important for us. We can actually respond, not just react.
Companies like Salesforce in particular have stepped up over and over again. So, to help us get through the actual pandemic and do contact tracing, but not only that, but like, let's get together and put Rhode Islanders to work.
Our ability to have that kind of partnership and join in and combining technology with public health and what's going on the front lines so that we can make a difference together.
It's on us. And when I say us, I mean the private sector and the public sector. I mean Salesforce and government. To say, what are we going to do about this to get people back to work, rebuild America, and restore our democracy?
What an amazing story that is. It's an inspiring story, and it's a story I never thought I would hear or know or participate in. And yet here we are, live in Salesforce Park in San Francisco at Dreamforce, and I'm all by myself. But I do have my good friend online here with me, my new friend, someone I didn't know a year ago, but I know her now. She's an amazing leader of our country, of the world. She's an amazing leader of the state of Rhode Island.
And candidate for president in 2024.
And I'm so glad to introduce you to Governor Raimondo. Governor Raimondo, thank you so much for joining us today.
It is my pleasure, Mark. It's a thrill to be here, and I love seeing you and feeding off of your energy.
Governor Raimondo, you called us and you said, look, the state of Rhode Island has a tremendous pandemic. You need to implement contact tracing. You need to put people back to work. You need to distribute vaccines. And how could Salesforce help? And you know what? We have been so delighted to be your partner in doing all of these things. Maybe you could give everyone in the world a vision of how do we fight this pandemic? Where are we going next? And what have we learned over the last year?
Thank you so much. We're still learning every day. We're by far, we are not through the woods. But the few things we know is that you have to put the politics aside and focus on the science and the data and take action. And in a crisis like this, a leader can become paralyzed. It's overwhelming. I'm sure you have felt that way, but you cannot be paralyzed. You have to move, take action, be innovative, reach out to partners as I did with you. So, where are we going? We can continue to scale our contact tracing, leveraging heavily what our partnership with Salesforce. Contact tracing is only effective so far as it's fast. You need to quickly get people into isolation. You need technology to do that. And that's why I'm so grateful to you and your platform. And then where we're going is to get this vaccine out, equitably distributed to everyone as fast and as efficiently as possible, and maintaining people's trust. That's a key word. But I'm optimistic.
She's a governor who's quiet, meaning we
there
don't
is
hear
light at the
anything
end of
from
the
her,
tunnel,
but
Governor
she's doing
Raimondo,
great
and a lot
work.
of that light is coming from you.
And
so we are
Salesforce
so
is
delighted
helping.
and so grateful
Again,
for your
this
leadership
is where the
and
strength
your
of
vision and everything
Salesforce
you have done for the world this year. Thank you, Governor Raimondo, and thank you for being
kind
in
of
Dreamforce
initiative,
2020.
this kind of effort.
Keep doing the great work, and thank you to all the Salesforce employees who are on the team helping America get through this pandemic.
Thank you, Governor. Today we're talking about the future. We're talking about the future, but we know we're in the present moment. We also know the past is gone. The past is gone. It's not coming back. We know that. all that world that we were in, whoa, we're creating a new world. We're creating a new Salesforce. We're creating a new platform. We've even acquired a company, Slack, because we realize we need to position and create an opportunity for you, our trailblazers, for the future. And now I'm going to give you that vision, and an incredible vision led by one of our most amazing executives, our Executive Vice President and General Manager of Platform, Trailhead, and App Exchange. We all know her. We all love her, Sarah Franklin. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about the future?
Thank you, Mark. As you just heard, governments must move faster than ever. COVID-19 has accelerated the digital imperative for both the public and the private sector, creating connected, intelligent experiences for everyone. Residents, customers, and employees is of the utmost importance. That's why we launched Work.com and Salesforce Anywhere back in March. They are products that prioritize employee health, safety, trust. And we continue to innovate. We're laser focused on intelligence, integration, and automation. And today, I am excited to introduce to you Einstein Automate with the expert himself. Automate anything with AI-infused bots and flows. Integrate everything from systems to experiences, and transform any industry with packaged libraries. With Einstein Automate, every organization in every industry around the world.
This is a good thing, but it's also table stakes,
and
really.
Today, we have a new
for
industry
companies dealing with enterprises, companies like Pega have had this for a long time. The industry maps and automated industry maps, companies like SAP have, a lot of the companies have this. On the other hand, it's good that Salesforce.
I want you to meet Ozzy. He's a local business owner looking to reopen his small business for outdoor dining so he can get back on track. To do this, he needs permits, approvals, possibly construction. He starts by visiting his city's website to apply for a parklet permit. This is no longer a paper process with a long wait line. With Einstein Automate, the process is digital, secure, and fast. He's guided through this intelligent experience thanks to the new public sector industry solution. Einstein Automate integrates data from other systems, personalizing the experience. And in just a few clicks, he's done. Now, after submitting the permit application, a lot goes on behind the scenes.
Public sector solutions for them is perfect.
Is in his home office,
it's their time in the public sector.
Record that was
They've got some
automatically and securely
aces
created
running
in
their
Salesforce.
public sector
Einstein
group.
Automate has the new MuleSoft Composer to integrate data from multiple systems with clicks, not code. Here are city zoning records from a homegrown system, fire department connections from an on-premise system, and municipal transport maps from an external system.
Taking MuleSoft the next step, another thing that's really important for them. Ultimately, MuleSoft gives them access to everything that they didn't have access to, the back end.
Safety checks.
It's also they finally admitting their software,
to
such a thing as software.
And use our platform services to send them via email. Now pay attention, as Einstein Automate is also anywhere you work. That could be in Teams,
I like this
or
with
Google
the MuleSoft
Chat,
Composer too.
or of course, in Slack. Wherever you are working, you are one slash command away from the power of Einstein Automate. And here in Slack, it's easy for the permit officer to confirm information, add notes, collaborate, and notify the construction officer of their next step in the process.
Occurs to me they may make something out of that.
Orchestrated everything in the
Slack.
background,
Even though I don't like it,
bringing
they actually may do
automation,
something with it.
integration,
Interesting.
and intelligence to the employee experience.
Okay, let's fast forward. Ozzy's permit is approved, and Einstein Automate is smart.
The flow guides him through the final steps to confirm dates and suggested next steps. This chatbot is using intelligence to have a conversation directly with Ozzy. Okay, he's ready to print his permit, emailed to him as a PDF. All right, now that Ozzy's got his permit, he can safely open his business for outdoor dining. And that's the power of
I think
Einstein
this is a super smart move. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, Paul, but
end-to-end automation from the
making
front
a
to the
play
back
to be the
office.
point at which some of these larger processes are integrated and automated. And that to me is the reason, that's the reason to buy Slack. It's not really strictly about collaboration per se.
Well, again, that's a wait and see for me, just because
all without having to code.
I just have biases
all this
to not
innovation,
liking Slack.
check out the URL you see
right?
here.
So
and
I'll
an
have to see
important
the
reminder
value of
to
it to
support your
them and
local
what they can do
businesses.
with it.
Because
What I
together,
do like
we
about
will
what I'm
succeed.
seeing here, though,
Now,
is
back to
MuleSoft Composer, Public Sector Solutions, all tied to Einstein Automate.
Yep.
Are
Wow,
a number
Sarah,
of smart moves
that was
combined
amazing
together.
and beyond my possible expectation.
Especially if they can
Incredible
make
what
that
the vision is that you have for
process
the
of building those
platform.
workflows and
And when you
automating
look at
them
everything that
easy
you've
and
done and
straightforward, I
augment
think
that with the
that
vision of
is a
Slack, it's
huge
beyond
asset.
our
So
wildest dreams.
again, some
That
tips
idea of
to use
intelligence, that
to
idea of the
understand how
next
that actually plays
generation
out
of
in reality,
Salesforce's
but
platform,
certainly from
that is
a
going to enable
strategy
every
and
trailblazer
approach
to create the
standpoint,
future.
definitely a
Now
good
we're going
move.
to tell you another story. Another
And this
amazing
is the story
We
of
like to call it the
complete
single
tone
source of truth,
deafness.
but this is about
Yeah,
capabilities
I'm
like
sorry.
intelligence
I
and
can only shake my
automation.
head. I don't
But
know
you
why
can't
this
get
is on
there
the agenda.
without
I
a
really don't
single source of
understand.
truth. You know
This
that.
is horrible.
So
Okay,
before
this
the
is just
pandemic
horrible.
hit, I was actually in the United Kingdom.
You know, SAP
I was
did
in the
that whole
United
thing with
Kingdom
Porsche,
hearing
and it
an
was bad
amazing
enough.
story
It was
about
bad.
a
Given
topic
who
that's very
these
important
guys
to me,
are,
and that
this
topic
is the most tone deaf
is
thing I've seen them
sustainability.
do in
I
quite
mean,
a while.
all of us
And
know
look, it may
Salesforce
be
is
a
built on core
fantastic
values:
case study,
trust,
but the
customer
subject of the
success,
case study, no one could
innovation,
afford a Bentley
equality.
when things were
We
normal,
also know
much less now.
sustainability
And
is a
now,
core part of
and
who
we were talking about
Salesforce
people
is.
potentially
It's why
getting
we're a net
evicted
zero
at the end of
company.
the month when
It's
things
why
like
we've created the
mortgage
Friends of Ocean
protections
Action.
And
came.
they're
Get out,
actually,
get all the plastic out of the ocean.
it's
Because
beyond,
we want the
it's
plastic
just,
ocean by
it's beyond me.
2050. I mean, the World Economic Forum says we're going to have a plastic ocean by
When I
then.
saw this
Forget
in
it.
the announcements
We
and
all know that.
advertisements,
And that's
and I
also
was
why we
like,
created
I actually told them,
1 trillion
I'm
trees.
sorry, but if you
So
do
we can
this, I'm
sequester
gonna
280 gigatons
just have to
of
go
carbon
after you.
Yeah, I think you
Because
and I had the same reaction.
Well,
Well, here's the other
sustainability
thing.
is very important. And we
Bentley
heard
is
a
a
very
luxury brand
compelling
that's got a
new vision
relatively small,
for
focused customer
sustainability
base. So how is
in
this
the
a great
United Kingdom
example of
from an
single source
amazing
of truth?
customer,
I'm
Bentley Motors.
eager to
Let's
hear,
take a look.
but
maybe there's only one single source to use it, right?
2019 was a phenomenal year for Bentley. To achieve
sure it was.
100 years is something that we were enormously proud of.
Truly an amazing year of celebration. We'd built a huge order bank and we were set for a record 2020. Absolute historic highs in revenue and profits in our 101st year. And then COVID hit.
I mean, congrats to them for doing well 100 years from founding, but it still just doesn't feel like an appropriate
for
story
7 weeks
right
we
now.
were. We recognized that to get through this crisis, we had to rapidly evolve our digital
Most people are like
capabilities.
super proud when they can afford to use Ford
that it
150.
wasn't just to get through the crisis.
Following a pandemic that accelerated so much change, we need the right skills. We need the right people. A team as diverse as possible to solve problems we have never encountered.
We need to think existentially about how do we compete and win in this new digital environment. And the answer, it's all about customers for me.
The needs of our customers have been evolving through time, but at no point have they been changing more rapidly than they are now. More than ever, we need to know them more closely. That means we need to deliver a paradigm shift in every single aspect of our business.
So there is one aspect of this that's interesting to me, Paul, and that is that Bentley, at least for a certain segment of the population, is a very aspirational brand. So there are a lot of people who likely never own one who aspire to.
Of our customer
So what's interesting is if they can identify that group and have some sort of
luxury mobility
meaningful relationship with them, that's interesting.
There is only one
but that's not really what they're talking
that is for
about.
Salesforce.
Honestly,
With Customer
not even
360,
me personally,
we
it's
can
not even
create a
slightest
single
interesting.
source of truth.
The reality
that allows
is,
us to create
maybe it's my leftist
extraordinary
background, but
experiences for our
when you think about
And that's what we need
tens
moving
and tens
forward,
of millions
to
of people
create
out of work
something new
who are hoping to
regarding
get another
products,
stimulus check,
services,
and they're talking about
and the
this.
way we resonate with a
I'm
complete
sorry.
new customer group.
Yeah,
Because that's the foundation for our future growth.
We talk about inspiring our customers through that magical combination
they
of
knew it, too.
craftsmanship,
They knew
innovation,
they're gonna
pushing the
this is
boundaries,
going to happen to them, and
most
you're still doing it.
importantly in this day and age,
This is just-
sustainability.
Bentley has
and not only that,
very sustainable
just to add,
because the
to
Bentley is
make this even worse,
Consider
they just
that for
had a
101
great
years
example
we've
with
built
Rhode
cars,
Island, with a
and more than
public-private
80% of them
partnership
are
that's
still on the
working
road.
to solve
And that
actual
already is the
problems,
most sustainable story.
and it's really what
Our
Salesforce
vision
is
is
more
to go
fundamentally
beyond
about
zero
than
to
this.
become climate positive as a company.
Within 10 to 15 years, we won't have any engines. We will systematically replace them with new propulsion systems.
I'm just
and
going
it
to be
doesn't
quiet
scare
for the
me.
rest
It
of it, because all
inspires
I'll do
me.
is rant.
So you could say
I'll
that
just
with the
wait till
long
it's
and the
over.
short, we could be
Parker,
getting a
that's-
bit tired and old-fashioned. But I have to say, right now, today, this brand has never felt younger.
Adrian Hallmark is really a trailblazer, and his entire staff. It was one of the most inspiring visits to a customer I've seen and inspires me on the future of sustainability. You know, I was born here in San Francisco, born here and raised here in San Francisco. I went to public schools here. That's why I'm so committed to our public schools here in San Francisco. Let me tell you something. When I look at a video like that, when I look at a customer like that, it inspires me for the future. I say, yeah, Salesforce is a net zero company. There's so many more things we can do to not only become more sustainable ourselves, but inspire more sustainability.
COVID hit them.
Well, I want to introduce you to somebody else who's so inspiring to me, and that, of course, is our beloved Leah. So, Leah, will you just give us the entire vision of Bentley Motors and tell us where are we going in this incredible new world?
Thanks, Mark. Bentley Motors has traditionally been a B2B company relying on 230 partners to sell their cars. When the pandemic hit, they had to evolve overnight to serve a wider digital audience, marketing and selling directly to consumers.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like a great actor in completely the wrong
Bentley is bringing the showroom experience to every prospect digital, turning foot traffic into web traffic overnight. From B2B
Sir John Gielgud
to
in
B2C
Attack
scale.
of the Plant
And
Zombies.
since Bentley just announced their entire fleet will be electric by 2030, they now have a whole new market of eco-conscious consumers and can deliver personalized marketing journeys to them.
Yeah, I think Tony's probably
Maria.
right about
She's
this.
a young professional.
I mean, I can understand that in certain audiences, this is a great story to relate. I don't think
and doing everything
Dreamforce is the
online
audience for
these
this
days
at all.
Bentley Motors wants to
By
continue to
any
foster and grow this relationship with Maria.
I
as well
do. I
as with
really love
all
Salesforce.
their
One of my favorite
unknown
companies
prospects
to
and
talk to,
customers.
work with.
That's
They
where
care.
single
They
source
really
of
genuinely
truth
do.
comes
But
in.
then, like
Bentley
every
can
other
now
company in the
ingest
entire universe, I
and
guess they
unify all
tend to
their
do
data
things like
into a
this,
single
which
source
make
of truth to give a
literally no
unified
sense
profile for
to
each
do.
customer
I'm
shared
trying to
across
understand
the
what
entire
the
business.
perspective is on
In this world we're
what
living
the
in
right
of remote
signal is that they
shopping,
were
remote
hoping to
working,
convey with
remote
this.
learning,
Is that
remote
it's,
everything,
is it that
privacy
when
and
we're
trust
talking about
are more important than
a company that's
Customer
had to
360
make a lot of
Privacy
changes
Center
and transformations
ensures
over
Bentley
100
Motors
years?
can collect and respect
I don't
their
really
customers'
understand.
privacy preferences
product.
and remain
These are,
compliant.
look, she's
The
showing the
marketer
product
can
they're
also
using.
see all
This
the
is all
segments
based on
Maria
their
is a
GA
member of,
releases,
like
right? And
Sustainable
single
Consumer.
source of truth and
Bentley
the
can
layer
easily
2 in
build
their
audience
platform.
segments to
That's
target
what they're doing.
prospects
They're
and
proving their
customers
platform,
with
but they don't need to
personalized
do that with
messages
these kind of
across
examples.
any channel.
I'm sure they could
You
come
can
up
see
with other
all
ones.
your connected sources
this is
in
all
one
the
place.
customer that said
Sales,
yes.
service, marketing,
Yeah,
What was
no, that's
and
true. That's true,
third-party
Ginger.
data.
That is part of the challenge.
The marketer
Getting
can
the customer.
further
Well, then
refine
you know
this
what?
and
Then
add
you
an
don't do
attribute
it.
to
I mean, it's
target
literally
only
that
prospects
big a
with a
problem.
high click-through propensity. These attribute definitions
But again, I
ensure
mean,
these
the problem for me
individuals
is
are ready to
this is
start
not a
their
great
journey
example.
with
This is
Bentley.
not a large consumer
This
brand.
segment
This is
looks
a business that
great
has
to
a
publish.
relatively
Single
small
source of
customer
truth
base.
is powered
And
by
I'm not saying you should manage that
So this
customer base
segment
in
can
a
be
Excel
activated
spreadsheet.
across
But
their entire
this
business.
is a shiny,
Honestly, in action.
compelling example
For
of how
marketing,
single source
a
of truth
sustainable
actually
consumer
manages
like
a
Maria
really
sees
large
relevant,
customer
personalized
data set or
ads that
the
speak to her
information
green
associated with a
lifestyle.
large customer base.
For sales, when Maria's ready
Again,
for a
they're
test drive,
showcasing a
the
product
dealer
ultimately,
already
right?
knows
And
she's interested in
the other
buying
side, look, when
based on
SAP
her
did their
interactions with
Porsche thing,
Bentley's sustainability marketing
the
efforts.
actual
For
production
service,
value
a
of the
Bentley
case
Motors
study that they were
advisor can
showing
see all
was
the
genius.
information
It was absolutely
needed to
gorgeous,
best assist
brilliant.
Maria and can
But the
further share
subject just
Bentley's
takes away from that.
commitment to the
Like, we're not paying
environment.
any attention to
And
the
for
product right
commerce,
now because
Bentley
we're so
builds
overwhelmed by
loyalty
the
with
choices.
highly personalized
It's like, I can't
experiences.
hear it. And I
So
can't
when
even
Maria
see
is
it.
shopping for
And we're
add-ons
paying
for her
little
car,
attention to this
she sees
product that they are now
sustainable
showcasing.
shipping recommended and a discount applied. With
Tone
Salesforce
deafness now
Order
means
Management,
sight
Bentley
blinded
Motors
too.
has a single source of truth across inventory and fulfillment channels and can create routing flows to optimize for shipping time, cost, and even to reduce emissions. This is the power of connected data. Single source of truth drives these personalized, relevant experiences across every channel. And it's not just data-rich experiences for customers. It's also for employees. Let's take a look. Bentley Motors can bring all their segments and data together in a complete picture of the entire business with Tableau, the world's leading analytics platform.
I think that is the idea.
They can see the key sustainability measures
part of
across sales,
customer
service,
data management.
marketing,
Showcasing
and
specific
commerce.
products too.
And soon, thanks to new features like Einstein Discovery and Tableau, Bentley Motors can get the predictions they need to go from insight to action. And when they click into one of the top performing segments identified by single source of truth, they get a new prediction on the fly. With Einstein Discovery integrated across
as products that actually do this really well, but a more narrowly defined area
with their data, they can see into the future with
they have brilliant
and
products
make
for
smarter
this kind of
decisions faster.
Exactly.
And they're not alone. I mean, there's a lot of this
was a
kind of
lot of
analysis
goodness.
that is
Let's
being applied in a
recap.
bunch of different
With
areas.
Customer
There's
360
some tools that
Truth
are
and its
that are
newest
really
products,
well
they
applied
can
to, as you
unify
say, Paul,
all their
some
data for a
more
single source of
specifically or
truth
narrowly
for
defined
every
challenges
customer.
and that kind of
With
analysis and
Salesforce Order
prediction.
Management, they can manage inventory and fulfillment across all channels.
I actually have been hearing a little bit about order
Einstein
management beforehand, and that's
Tableau,
to me that's
they can see into
interesting
the
in its
future with
implication,
predictions and
given
make smarter
MuleSoft Composer and a
decisions
few other
faster.
things, which is
Now that is how
heading to
you
the
use
back
data
office,
to put your customer
right?
at the center
Customer
of everything
impact,
you do.
but heading to the
And
back
because
office, like supply
sustainability is a
chain,
shared
logistics,
value,
order
we're
management,
super
inventory
excited to
management,
announce
things like that,
a new
which
challenge.
is an area you kind of have
Salesforce,
to
in
go to
support
now,
of
even
onekey.org,
as a
will
customer
plant a
facing
tree
company.
for every
That
person
particular,
that completes our
especially
new trail.
that, and especially given the context of the pandemic, that kind of thing is critical.
Well, it's interesting too because you can combine some of the other planning applications that are very specifically in the kind of BI and financial planning space, as well as tools like Configure Price Quote that are giving you some more real-time, immediate analysis of what's actually happening from a demand side. And using that, you can actually get to some really interesting and useful planning as well. So this is definitely one of those areas that is critical for successful business management at this point, not just being able to set and fulfill customer expectations, but being able to do so in a way that you can manage effectively from a business standpoint.
Absolutely right. And I go ahead, Ginger.
I'm looking forward to when John buys.
I totally got this. Yeah, that comment was awesome. Let me just whip out my iPhone and pay for my new Bentley.
Exactly.
It's just, but I don't know if you're seeing it, but this froze at the moment for me.
Yeah, I see it frozen.
Yeah, it's frozen.
Yeah. So it's them, not us.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. What I was going to say, Paul, was it's interesting to see Salesforce talking about this. I've been doing some projects around something similar, talking a lot about real-time decisioning and how the impact that can have, automating these decisions kind of in the moment and your next best action with customers. And, trying to get that to a point where it's actually doable at scale. So it's
yeah. To your point, I actually think look, ultimately, I think everyone's coming to the conclusion that the back office is as much a customer impact area as the front office.
Absolutely.
We just tended to, and Salesforce is, I think, with some of this and to both your points, is I think at the very beginning of delving into that. I don't think they're there yet. I mean, they don't have supply chain logistics, distribution, even. I mean, I'm sure they have the integrations, but they don't even talk to them at all, right? So it's a very early stage, but the order management specifically thing just struck me as sort of a
year for a record performance.
Yeah.
Obviously, COVID hit. This year, we actually start the year right now with a bigger order bank for new car customers than we had at the beginning of last year or 2020. So we really are set up for what should be a fantastic 2021.
I was so proud. I'm so happy for you.
Full use of the new Salesforce 360 capability that we've developed
magnanimous, Paul.
which is really inspiring in itself.
I don't know. It's like.
Well, thank you, Adrian, for being a great trailblazer. Thank you for pointing the way forward. We're so delighted to have you at Dreamforce 2020.
Right.
We're in an amazing new world right now. We're in an amazing new world. We can all see that. We all know that we're in an amazing new world. This is beyond any of us or our imagination. I never thought I'd be coming to you from Salesforce Park with my Dreamforce 2020 keynote. Now we've gone from here and our story about UCSF to Rhode Island.
Yeah,
we went from Rhode Island to Crew England. And now we're going to go from Crew England to Dallas, Texas.
Bentley? Is that where
we're going to go down to Dallas, Texas, and we're going to see an amazing story. I mean, a story about experience. in how to create a single source of truth, a customer 360, how to transform a business that we've all known or maybe even been customers of. Now, this is an amazing story. You're going to love it. Let's take a look at this amazing film, AT&T.
AT&T is a brand that's been known for quite some time. And we've made it a commitment to keep our customer front and center at everything that we do.
13 years ago, I was a retail sales consultant. I was the one walking to the door. Hello, welcome to AT&T. That was me.
It's all about the customer and connecting the journeys that they have across multiple channels.
Where do we apply our focus to make our company best in class, maybe even world class?
What we're driving is really about business transformation.
With that comes great responsibility to uphold the promise and the power of the AT&T brand.
We're always looking for ways to innovate.
It's in that moment that any company has to go digital.
Customers have very complicated relationships with us.
Oftentimes painful in the experience.
The challenge is we've got to go back and cover 15, 20 years worth of technical evolution.
I think my team worked in about 20 different applications.
I got to go to 50 screens trying to find this and that.
Swivel chairing.
Took down the customer information on a sticky note.
Searching.
Our front line wants to be one company.
How many times do I have to repeat myself? You all are AT&T. Is an AT&T one company?
How do we turn our frontline
That's what customers
teams
will
into
call them
superheroes? How do we make
Yeah,
them
exactly.
the smartest people?
It's
How can
tough.
we
I mean,
take a
I
tool
think it's always
like
tough
Customer
having
360, get that laddered into the organization
telco customer
quickly
because
and really
you're
try
right,
to
you've got a
accelerate some
huge
change in this
diversity
company.
of
telecom
products
industry
and
is
services
fiercely
and customer relationships.
To be able to change
And
things
you know,
rapidly.
that is an
Everything
incredibly
moves at the
challenging
speed of light.
business
This pandemic
to
has shown
deliver
us what the
consistently
art of
decent,
possible
not even consistently
is when
good
you move
customer
faster
experience.
and you do things differently.
Well, and
Now
I
we
will
can
tell you this, the telcos
Get
that
an
I've
app
talked to
and
actually
open and
use
we in.
When
a
any
Service Cloud
customer
or
comes to
one of
interact with
Salesforce
us,
or multiple
that
Salesforce
frontline
applications.
agent will know
They're
everything
actually some of the
about
more
customer.
devoted
That's a
Salesforce
capability
customers.
we
They
haven't
really do
Yeah,
like them.
I can believe it.
It
It's,
is
I mean,
a way
the
to
scale
have
of the
a
challenge
relationship
is
with the customer.
massive. To even
Getting a
attempt
single
to
source of
deliver
truth,
that
getting this 360
ideal customer
platform
service and
deployed
customer
was a
experience.
huge milestone.
From a speed
I
and
think these folks
agility
are going to be in work
perspective,
for quite
that is
some
a
time
game
to come.
changer.
It's
We
going to
know
take an awful long
customers
time to
want
get there
simple,
too.
seamless, ultra-fast engagements.
And now they're
from
dealing with
This
the problem
is
of
it. This is
distributed
the
workforces
opportunity
at a level
to
they never
really be
have
successful
before.
for our customers
Which
going
is the other
forward.
side.
I have a vision that this tool in the hands of our frontline
Will
will be
blow
a
up your
difference
house.
maker and a vital component to the growth platform of AT&T.
Well, that was a little surprising at the end there.
What a story. Amazing.
Yeah, it actually is a
And I
good
have
story.
had so many good times down in Dallas working with AT&T and helping them to architect their single source of truth and their customer 360. It's amazing. It's really a story about how a 140-year-old brand can reinvent itself. You know, with school and work now from home, AT&T's 5G and fiber broadband, you know, it's powering our lives. We all know that.
Well,
you know, we're all
5G is
living
not
on our
really
phones.
here yet, right?
Well, let's learn about how they did it. And we have an amazing executive now to talk about our AT&T 360. Please
I hear
welcome,
you, Renee.
live from San Francisco, Denise Dresser. Denise?
Thanks, Mark. Jeff and the team at AT&T have a vision to deliver a world-class customer experience that's simple, seamless, and fast. The first step on their journey was to enable their teams to show up as one company to their customers. This is the single source of truth in action. AT&T is creating this for their retail sales consultants so that they have a complete view of every customer. And here, Einstein will leverage this customer's history with AT&T to surface insights. For example, the best product to recommend. And in this case, Einstein nails it. Sandy walks away happy with his new 5G
We won't
device.
answer that now.
5G is
We
quickly
really
becoming
can't.
all the rage. In
Not
order to
fair.
keep up with demand, service teams need to accurately forecast their service demands to ensure they have skilled coverage across all channels, which is exactly
we really
why
can't
we
answer
built
that one.
Workforce Engagement, available summer 2021. This dynamic graph is predicting a future spike in service demand, pulling in historical data across all support channels and third-party systems So companies like AT&T can
I'll be
create
interested to
staffing
see
plan.
how effective this
Not only
really
do
is, because
companies
if
need
you
to ensure
can
they have
really apply
enough
some good
agent
machine
staff,
learning and some
but that
actual
they have
artificial
the agents with
intelligence
the
to this
right
and
skill
pull in
sets
some of those
required to
external
meet the
factors
customer's need.
that maybe aren't
Let's check
in your
in with a service
historical
agent
data,
working
but
from home.
that the historical data points to as
Directly in
key
the
factors that
console, this
influence
agent
that
receives a
demand,
real-time
that
prompt
could
from
be
my
potentially very
Trailhead,
interesting. But it would
helping him
be
resolve
great
the
to know
case
how
that
that
just
delta
ended from
between
Sandy.
prediction and reality
My
changes over
Trailhead
time.
is the learning platform that helps companies create
Let's say on
custom
another
modules to upskill their
a
workforce.
slightly different angle to yours,
This
one of the things
agent
that
has the
strikes me with
same
this,
complete
and
profile
this
as the retail
depends
sales
on
consultant, including
what's
all
really
previous
here.
interactions and purchases,
Salesforce is either
ensuring a seamless experience
making
across
a
all
play
touchpoints.
for
This is the power
actual
of having a
employee
single
engagement
source
over
of truth.
time,
Sandy
or
loves his
and
phone,
this is
and it
or they're
turns
just
out he's
providing
looking for a faster home internet
improved kind
connection
of
because, like many of us,
agent
he's working from
experience,
home.
the equivalent of an
So
agent
he
experience
inquires via text about their new
for the
fiber offering.
employees, but which is not the
Einstein is
same as
able to
employee
guide the
engagement.
service agent with the
I
next
don't know
best
where they're
match
going with workforce
and
engagement.
suggests a
I'm
knowledge
used to
article to
NICE's
share
and
with
some of the other
Sandy.
companies.
Having this
Workforce engagement,
information
they're
surface in
big,
real time
robust
for the
enterprise
agent ensures
scale.
not only can he get it
This
right
is
the
fairly
first time,
simple,
he can
straightforward.
stay
It's not
focused on the
bad. It's just
customer.
I'm not
He
sure
will be able to
what
quickly
the
schedule a field
strategic
service
purpose of
technician
it is.
to
Do they
install
just
a
want to
new fiber
create
router
a
at
better
Sandy's home
experience
so he can
for
get those video
employees
conferences up
that
and running
improves their
fast.
ability to do
The
X, Y, Z?
technician will be able
Or
to
are
use
they
the
actually going to
Salesforce
start
Field Service
moving
mobile
more
app
toward
to
tying
optimize her
employee
schedule,
engagement
assist with
into
work
the
orders,
overall,
and guide
which
her
is
with
the
the
other
best
facet
steps to
that
complete
now
the
is
job.
kind of
While on the
like the
job,
back
the
office is
technician
now
uncovers
part
a new
of how you have
opportunity.
to look at
Yep.
Sandy
customer
owns his own
engagement.
Well,
business
and
and is
if you think
interested in
about
learning
it, as we see the boundaries blurring between what is customer
to lead
service and
within
what is
her
sales
app
and
for
what is
sales reps to
marketing,
follow up.
this kind
AT&T provides
of
essential services to
workforce
both consumers and
deployment
businesses,
and
helping
management
us stay
capability is
connected while
actually
we're all working
increasingly
remotely.
important,
But
because
as we know, that
what you're
means we're
looking at is
adapting to
how do
doing
you
things in a new
really
way.
get the right
This
customer
is why we built
interaction
Salesforce
in order
Meetings
to
and
support a
Einstein
broader
Call Coaching
relationship
for
and not
Video,
just a
available
single
spring
mode type of
2021.
interaction. And that's a
Kitchens
degree of
are the new
difficulty
meeting
that I don't think
rooms.
we're
And here
really
we are
close
with a
to
sales
yet,
rep
but
who's working
is
from
definitely
home.
on the horizon.
With Salesforce Meetings,
I
reps
mean,
see
basically, just
relevant
saying
customer data
ecosystems
on a
matter,
single screen,
but
like the
overall,
bios of every
right? It's
attendee,
ultimately boiling down to
relevant
that.
records, previous
Well,
interactions
this
that will
to me
all
is
help us
again
guide that
Salesforce
conversation.
extending into
And this video call is
adjacencies
engaging for
that are about,
everyone.
you know,
The attendees,
moving the
presentation,
base of where Salesforce operations or the operations that Salesforce
get this.
business
Einstein,
applications are supporting,
the rep committed to
really
during the meeting, and
that where that footprint is within an enterprise and pushing the envelope on that.
the cracks.
Yeah,
And while
I mean,
cannot
I
lead
also
every virtual
saw
meeting with my
Jesus's
team,
comment. I
Einstein
understand
can.
that.
Einstein
But
Call
there's always
Coaching for Video
Salesforce
uses
is smart
AI
enough to have
to
some
identify
strategic
trends and
purpose to
key
almost
moments
everything
during
they
the
do,
meeting. These are
and
best
I'm not sure
practices
what
that should
that
be
is
replicated
relative
across
to
the
this.
team,
I mean,
turning
I'm
every
curious, and I
performer into a
like
top
the
performer.
fact that they have it. I just don't know what the purpose of
Now,
it is
to
long
recap
term.
everything we just saw,
Does it fit into a
retail
bigger
sales
thing? It's
consultants
just
will be able to
basically
create
another
personalized
sort of
in-store
capability they're
experiences
adding into their
because
overall
of their
portfolio
intelligent
of
single source
a
of truth.
million capabilities.
Service agents
You
will
know,
be able
or
to participate and meet
what?
service demands with workforce engagement and on-the-job training.
Yeah,
Field
They might be
technicians
buying
will be able to
themselves.
optimize their work orders.
Yeah,
with
exactly,
Salesforce Field
Ginger.
Service.
They're
And
buying
with
themselves
Salesforce
some runway
Meetings
to
and
figure it
Einstein
out.
Call Coaching for Video, sales reps will have the tools they need to drive engaging conversations while working remotely. And most importantly, customer experiences are now simple, seamless, and fast. If you want to
Never
learn more,
true.
check out the link on your
Ever.
screen now. Take it away, Marc.
We really want them to be, but are
That's
they?
right. I swear they are.
Denise,
And
great
because I
job and
swear,
amazing. What a
therefore they are.
presentation and a demonstration of Customer 360 and the single source of truth. I mean, when we look at those demos, whether it was from UCSF or whether when we went all the way to Rhode Island or to Crew, England, and now to Dallas, amazing. Well, let's hear it directly from Jeff McElfresh, our good friend, the CEO of AT&T Wireless. Jeff, congratulations on everything you're doing this year with AT&T.
Absolutely right, especially if they're going to hit those great big revenue
Marc,
growth
great
targets.
To see you and welcome you back to Dallas.
Jeff, I wish I was with you in Dallas, but I'm here live at Salesforce Park. And Jeff, look, you've been doing so much this year. I mean, since we signed that agreement with AT&T in February, I think you're already live with tens of thousands of users, and you've already created a whole new vision for the future. Can you give us an update? Where are we going?
Well, Marc, I got to be honest with you. When we set off on this mission about a year ago, we recognized a few observations. One, as an industry, boy, we could sure do a better job of making our customers feel understood and valued. And it's a very competitive marketplace. And as you alluded to at the beginning, We've got a lot of different products and services, and we serve over 170 million customers. And so our front line, our service professionals, our distribution channels, our sales leaders, they're sitting out there on the front line struggling to have a single source of truth, to really be superheroes and excel in their ability to serve our customers. And that is what got us so excited when we worked with you, with your team, and the devotion and dedication of the Salesforce staff to really transform what we could do at AT&T and really become an industry leader in the experience that we offer our customers.
Case studies in telco.
I got to tell you, Mark,
the overall bar for telco in general is pretty low, and I don't think any of us uses that as the reference point for our customer experiences. We're using everything else from
just to imagine the ability to have a tool that enables not only our customers, but
they can make
also
big
our
improvements compared to where they've been and compared to the rest of the market, and they're still pretty significant distance to get over the bar.
In an effortless
way.
The general good
it really establishes a unique value proposition.
And I give them some credit that they actually are trying, right?
As a result of deploying that single source of truth.
If you don't try, you're never going to get there.
360 platform. And my friend, to be honest with you, I'm so excited about the progress that we've made. I think this is just the beginning of what's possible.
Well, Jeff, I couldn't be any more excited. The only thing that would make me happier is if I was there with you and going out for some of that great Dallas food and talk about how we're going to take this to a whole nother level. Before I let you go, tell me, what's your prospect for 2021?
Well, with the momentum that we've enjoyed here in 2020 and the criticality of broadband services for all of our customers across this nation, we feel very, very strong and very optimistic about a nice 2021. And it's in no small part, Mark, in the capabilities of the tools that we've deployed through your strategic relationship that are going to put us in a really good position next year to serve and delight our customers. And so I'm looking forward to welcoming you back to Dallas, where we can celebrate some success together, my friend, and good luck with the conference.
Even T-Mobile, Anand.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much, and happy holidays from San Francisco. We're so pleased to be partners with you. We've heard some amazing stories today. We've heard some amazing stories.
I really like Marc's coat.
It's really part of Dreamforce. This is the Dreamforce Keynote. It's live from San Francisco, right here in Salesforce Park. And then we're going to have our incredible Dreamforce TX conference coming up December 14th to 17th. We're going to have hundreds of sessions where you, our trailblazers, are going to come together to show us how you're using the Customer 360 platform. That will be amazing. But number one, call your Salesforce executive. Tell them you want the special Dreamforce to you. We've put together amazing content, entertainment, all kinds of programs, and we're going to build a highly customized program for your company. We've already delivered over 4,000 of these Dreamforce to you programs in anticipation of this, and our goal is to deliver more than 100,000. This is just the beginning of Dreamforce. But Dreamforce would never be Dreamforce without one important thing. That is our great music and bands that have supported us over the decades. And of course, we have a great band right here in San Francisco, and we have them with us today. So let's see, all the way to Metallica. Metallica, can you bring us home?
Not the Velocitors? I can't believe it's not the Velocitors.
Maybe it's just as well that we're not in person this time.
Thank you, Mark and Alex, and thank you, the whole Salesforce family. Thank you for all your support.
Interesting choice.
You've done for us in the area.
Well, these guys are hardcore Salesforce fans.
I was going to say, though, at least this way we can adjust the volume.
Let me switch headphones. Should we fade the black? Or stick around.
I like the gratuitous shot of the van, though. I'm digging it.
Exit Sandman.
No, actually, this would be good for the BYOB 2020 guys to watch the video to see how they can do theirs.
I was just going to say.
Okay. I think it's safe to fade because we're a little over time.
Yeah.
We got a lot of folks here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say goodbye. to Metallica? We knew you well.
We'll rock out with Metallica.
Yeah, just don't say the other part of the phrase there.
I will not.
All right, bye, Metallica.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks, Brent.
Let's go to the full view here.
Oh yeah,
I was working the whole time.
Brent, we got you twice.
We don't need that. I mean, geez, let's get rid of this guy. All right. Wow, that was
all right.
I'm just gonna tell you, I just did a quick check, and at last count, and this is just barely over an hour. We had approaching 600 comments. Wow. This is a very, very chatty group that we assembled, and that's why I kind of switched into a different mode there. But you guys held the fort down with all the technical difficulties behind it. I think
we sure had a lot.
Producer Brent, awesome job.
He is. He's
well.
Best.
There's some awesome comments, and definitely we got to get to our special Salesforce. Our interviewee. This is like the post game show we're getting ready to do. So Paul, we're already like a bit like 15. Well, actually, we're 15.
We're about 15 minutes quick.
Why don't we just bring Brian on now and just get a couple of thoughts from him, couple of questions, and then we'll jump back and we'll bring in the players in residence for their special 15. 20
works for me. Absolutely works for me.
See you
all
later,
right, guys.
In a few
we'll
minutes.
See you soon. It was awesome.
All right. Absolutely. And now bringing up this just sounds weird because I mean, he is the global innovation evangelist for Salesforce, but I mean, we actually know him for something much more important, being a player in resident.
Right. The very first, too.
The very first. Here he is. Look. Oh, wow. Look at the background.
Oh, wow. You are a Salesforce person.
I had to do a quick change up from the play in residence background.
That's right. Updated. Which is just really a picture of Lake Tahoe, right?
They're just flying over the lake right now.
Hey, man, first of all, thanks for joining us. Thanks for, hanging in there, being a little late, but I guess Dreamforce hardly ever actually runs on time. So we're actually doing pretty good, actually, when you think about it. We want to just spend a couple of minutes with you. We also want to encourage folks to still leave comments. Me and Paul are going to kind of handle this portion. And just to let you know, Brian cannot answer any questions around the Slack acquisition or around any other acquisitions that might have closed or not closed.
Or not closed. So Slack and Acumen in particular, he can't talk to. And we're not going to entertain any comments about it either. So don't even ask.
Although he does have great acumen.
Ooh, yeah. That's wow. Great. You snuck it right in.
So, Paul, why don't you ask the first question?
All right. So, look, that was fascinating to me. A lot of what went on. I mean, of course, one of the things that I always love about Marc's speeches is it routinely starts with giving. Right. I mean, that's how he looks at the world. And which is, of course, the thing that even though I was sort of technically out of it at that moment, I was still I was kind of watching it while I was doing that, trying to get back in. So, I mean, look, you're working at Salesforce now. You're hearing Marc speak. You come from a thought leadership background, one of the world's most preeminent ones, in fact, and now you're an evangelist for the company. So when you hear that, how do you talk to people about Marc talking about Salesforce as a culture that is aimed at giving? And there's one follow-up I want to get to beyond that once you answer.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to answer this without also being, your friend for so many years. I know that you know the answer to this, but I'll just say it officially, which was when I joined, one of the questions I got most often is, hey Brian, is that Ohana stuff real? And the answer is absolutely. At least what I get to see every day, and it has everything to do with Marc. When Marc kicks off Salesforce this year virtually, or as you've seen in the past years, he really believes that we could create change, that we could use business as a platform for change. I think we saw that with the Rhode Island example. And I think that's what inspires so many of us, is that we actually believe that we can change the world for the better. And I know that we're trying. And that's actually the reason I joined. I still have my Dreamforce badge hanging on my desk from last year for that very reason. And so that, if that says anything, hopefully that answers your question.
Well, no, it does. And I mean, obviously the great strength of the company has always been their ability to externalize a culture, right? Their culture. And in fact, they're the one company I would point to in the world that's been capable of doing that. And you saw some of that with ups and downs throughout the speech. We'll get to that when we do our analysis a little later. But the one thing that really fascinated me, and it's something that I place a great deal of stock in, and I'd like to hear kind of your take on it, is I'm a huge fan of public-private partnerships. It's just something I think is first of all, it overcomes this kind of disparity between government and the private sector, and overcomes some of the anger that seems to, and animosity that seems to be there between them. But secondly, it's uniting in a common good, potentially, not always, but potentially. And so Rhode Island, of course, is the one that they talked about, and you can tell that the governor of Rhode Island is not only, I really liked her, and I think she's also quite grateful to Salesforce's support, not just figuring out, how we're going to pay this, and do we have to have the legislature raise the budget this year by a couple of billion, So she thinks she really did see the real value in that. So I don't know if there's anything you know of around more public-private partnerships or not, but elaborate on Salesforce's thinking on that, because to me, if I'm taking one thing out of this whole thing, that's where my head is, as far as the thing that has the most, at least emotional impact for me, and I think the most strategic importance too.
I can tell you that we could have a conversation about more public sector examples, at another time. But I will tell you this: internally, that story has been shared a lot because it's real. I mean, you saw it. I've heard this story in a variety of formats, and she has been genuine in every single instance. And I think and if you look at Sarah's example too, that this focus on empowering governments and also small businesses, and not just digitizing things, but actually transforming the way that we actually work together. I see that as a positive for the future. So this example of Rhode Island has been super positive and super inspiring in the Ohana.
You're the global innovation evangelist. What do you take out of this to tell your story to the folks that you're the Salesforce customers, prospects, whoever you get in front of? How do you condense what we just saw into something that you would tell people?
Well, the key word is condensed, because I have so many pages of notes as we were watching this together. One of the reasons I joined Salesforce was to have a platform to bring about this accelerated change. We've all talked about the challenges of digital transformation. I think what we heard today was actually a story of business transformation. We're calling it the digital imperative, but it really is about helping businesses compete in a modern era, right? The massive transformation that we've seen since COVID-19 is a radical acceleration of the change that we've all been asking for many, many years. So the story that I take now to customers and to the market in general is to show that, one, to be customer-centric is to be digital first. Is to understand also how digital is changing people as a result of this pandemic, how their behaviors are changing, what they value, how they want to engage. I mean, to kind of give Paul a shout out here, in your book, you did talk about customer engagement in a way that was customer driven, right? That we let them choose the channels that they engage in, and that we empower organizations to optimize those channels so that customers have a voice, whether that's expressed or whether that's expressed through data. And so now we have an opportunity to humanize the digitization, to humanize digital transformation, and to build companies that are not just relevant, but I hope indispensable by the way that they're going to be able to now engage their customers.
So given that, so you're out there, you're talking to customers, you're talking to maybe other partners, or you're just kind of doing what a lot of things that you actually do, which is you kind of talk to the world in general, right? You just sort of, you don't just speak to the market per se, you speak to everyone. And that's I think it's one of the reasons Salesforce really wanted to get you on board, right? Because you have a worldwide audience. There are a lot of people who are going to, if they were listening today, would not have understood it that well, just because they're not in our universe in any way at all. At the same time, again, given Salesforce's power, which is the externalization of their culture and their ability to thus provide an avenue for people to say, I'm involved in something more than just a company selling stuff. But you're also talking to audiences that don't necessarily know that, right? They don't necessarily even know the terminology. Right. So how do you communicate that to let's say the audiences of they're not oblivious, they're just not knowledgeable about that, to bring them into the fold or to get them a little closer, or do you even bother? Because ultimately the message Salesforce gives, which is a little different than a lot of companies, is hey world, there's things in the world that need, it's like kind of Bill Gates's message, which we have problems to solve in the world and we're here to help, right? But how do you communicate that without saying, and by the way, people who don't really know anything about us, we have this thing called work.com or whatever that we want to sell you. How do you actually communicate that?
One of the messages I took away from today was that message of empowerment and also of enablement, which was going after the people, the change agents, right? The trailblazers. I think if you picked up on that message of the trailblazer within, it's really looking at helping them bring about that change that we've all been talking about for so many years, and that humanizing. Like, I'm a big fan of the term digital imperative, but essentially what we're doing and what we're showing today, and then what I'm going to take away from this in my work, is that this is a playbook for the business of the future right now. And I really hope that, we can humanize that story down to the individual, to let them know that, if you're waiting for someone to tell you what to do, you're on the wrong side of innovation. You have to bring it together around that sense of purpose. And I think what we tried to show today, and what I'll show, in the coming days, was that customer, that human being on the other side of the screen. That's why we're doing this. And they're different, and they've changed a lot in this year. And if anything, I hope we showed that today, and I'm going to definitely dedicate my work to showing that and how that trailblazer can bring that change from within.
Hey, rock, dude. Yeah, this is great. I mean, people are having some really good questions. I love this question. You're not going to answer it right now, though, because we just don't have enough time. But if you get a chance, there are some really good questions that are coming in for you. And, feel free to take a shot at them. But we know you are on a limited time, but we appreciate you for coming, and really appreciate you putting on the tie for us. You're the first person that's ever done that. So
literally ever.
Great. We really do not expect to ever see that again, but we appreciate
it's Velcro.
When you were playing Resonance, you never wore a tie.
I know. We wouldn't even haze you to that effect, but that's okay. But we know. Seriously, we appreciate you joining us for the last couple of minutes. And actually, he was in the green room the whole time, eating all the cronuts and brookies.
So do we need to order? Hey, one last question. Do we need to order more cronuts or brookies or what?
I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
No, I'm just wondering if you ate them all up.
Yes. And I was telling the earlier was that this used to go all the way. This top button used to cinch before COVID. Best I could do now.
Hey man, thanks again. Right. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks everybody.
All right. There he is, Mr. Global. Oh, doing the virtual hug thing too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always.
All right, let's keep it going because we literally have a host of a caseload of analysts who are chomping at the bit to give us their take of this whole shindig. So before we can bring them in, we're going to bring in our first, our buddies first, our players in residence, El Nicole and Ginger Conlon.
Man.
Bring them back. Okay, so no holds bar. We want your unvarnished, raw first take of this event. So I don't care which of you two go first, but let her rip. And I'm sure the folks in the, leaving the comments, they will also be adding to this conversation as well. First, Ginger, we'll go to you first because, well, I think you're the first person I met before I met any of the other three. So.
Okay, that works.
I met myself.
It was fun to kind of follow the comments and see. One of the first things that I wrote down was Quip ? And then all the comments about Quip and Chatter started coming through. So it was like, oh, okay, great minds. And one of the things that Chris pointed out was that Marc emphasized this whole work from anywhere. Just emphasized working from anywhere, and it reminded me. One of those things that's everything old is new again, because when all the companies were so focused on their mobile apps, I remember a couple of different keynotes with Marc walking around with his phone, talking about how he could run the business from his phone using Salesforce and mobile. And I'm like, oh, okay. So here we are. Like now it's, more places and more devices, but it's kind of the update of that message. And, there was also some comments about. I'm just pausing because Anand is saying Ginger is kind of a big deal, and he's saying that because I have this right behind me.
It is also true, Ginger. I mean, let's be real.
Love that. Thank you. Anyway, so thanks, Nicole. And the whole thing about the Slack integration I thought was interesting too, just because Slack does a lot of integrations already. So, I'm not, I know we're not like really talking about that and what the plans are, but it'll be interesting to see what they have because they probably, or what they have planned because, they probably have a runway. So, and then just kind of seconding a lot of things that all of you already said about just Salesforce kind of stepping up to have the public private partnership and do these things that are really important, not just they're working to sell software and make money, but they're also doing all these things that are aiming to help. So those are the things that I just thought stood out to me.
Well, I've got one overriding question, which is what the hell is Hyperforce? So great. Yet another interesting thing that Salesforce has announced with no detail behind it. So we can guess. I mean, we all have ideas at what Hyperforce might be, but none of that was presented. So, I guess this is the new Customer 360.
I'll wait. I really don't know, but I have a thought, but I'll mention it later.
I don't. Well, what I'm trying to say, Paul, is Customer 360 is something they were talking about for ages and ages and ages before we got to what is basically the Salesforce CDP, which is arguably what they were pointing at with all of this Customer 360 discussion for years. So it's interesting, but it's also a little bit frustrating because there's already enough uncertainty about these acquisitions that have been announced but are not closed. And it's kind of a shame to be pointing to something that seems like it ought to have pretty immediate application, but without getting into any detail on what it actually is. So I think it's important because to the discussion that we've all been having here and to a lot of the discussion online in the comments as well, what we're really talking about is how companies are trying to transform. And that is something that is gaining momentum, right? So big challenge. And I think we need concrete solutions right now.
So let me ask you this question, because ultimately, it's typical, these kind of speeches are theoretically helping to define the direction of the company over at least the next year. They also set a tone. Did it succeed? Did it not? Was it?
Can I add on to that question?
Yeah.
Because there's like a kind of a big elephant in the room. How much did the Bentley presentation impact the overall feeling of what you got from this event? Because it seemed like that was when that was going on, the comments just spiked tremendously.
Paul, I know you have on this, so I know you do too.
We're going to talk later.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think it's really unfortunate because, as Paul, you were saying earlier, Marc starts off with the focus and the emphasis on how important it is to do good privately, but also how important it is, particularly for businesses, to do good in doing business. And it just really felt like a completely contradictory note. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Bentley being a successful business. There's nothing wrong with Salesforce having Bentley as a customer and helping them to meet their objectives. But from a storyline standpoint, in terms of communicating directionality and in terms of really sort of reinforcing by showing rather than just saying some of the great things that Salesforce really does spend a lot of time and significant amount of investment focusing on, it was not just tone deaf, it was actively contradictory, and I think that's too bad.
Ginger?
What more can I add, really? I mean, like I said before, I just think, I think you were right when you said they were choosing them specifically to show off the tools that they wanted to highlight in this conversation. And yeah, so maybe that they were the customer that said yes. And, someone decided, hey, this is a marquee name, and they check the boxes of what we need to talk about and stop there. And
yeah.
So.
Hey, look, I just got to tell you, we've got the analysts that are in the green room are already commenting in the private channel. It's going to be some pretty interesting stuff with as we get further and further into these conversations. But I just had to throw that out there because you guys were on screen doing it. It was like double what was going on in the comment section. I'll have a special comment at the end of this, by the way. No, I'm gonna withhold my comments because I want to get all of you guys before we jump into the cast of analysts that we have coming up. I already see the whole UK Europe block in there. They're all in. Maribel Lopez is in there, and she's in there like a panel early. So this is good stuff. We've got people just lining up to talk about this. So, any last impressions? Any last pieces before we turn it over to those folks? And I want it from our players in residence.
Yes. Advice to Salesforce, let's say, on where they should be going.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of second what Nicole said, and clarity around Hyperforce. There's enough in the market that is, many definitions for one thing, one acronym, what have you. So just let us know what it is. Is it taking over something else? Something new? Is it a new way to package up a bunch of the things that they have? And it looks like it hits all the like you were all saying, it kind of hits all the CDP boxes. So what does that actually mean? And where is it going to take them and their customers?
Yeah, I think for me, there was a lot of good stuff there. They always in these keynotes do a good job of pulling together a pretty broad view of the capabilities within Salesforce and doing that from a perspective of what it means for the businesses and what it means for their customers. Even if we're not necessarily all in the market for a Bentley, but what I think really still could come through a little bit stronger is exactly how some of these announcements and some of these moves are helping existing Salesforce customers now to do stuff more quickly. And this is the challenge as Salesforce continues to build and expand its portfolio, both through internal development, but particularly through acquisition, help customers get to the benefit of that expanded portfolio quickly and effectively. And that includes cost effectively.
All right.
Valid. All right. This has been great. And thank you for jumping in and becoming the on-screen talent when I had to kind of jump behind the scenes and try to handle my business, so to speak.
And me too.
So, feel free to hang around in the green room for the cronuts if you want to. Or,
Brian ate them all. There's none left. Sorry.
All right.
I had my non for breakfast. Cool.
All right. So we'll let El Nicole enjoy the cabin in the sky that she's currently in. And we'll let Ginger think about the Mets for, I don't know why. That's all
Thank you, guys. Great fun as always.
All right, guys.
Okay, that was fun. All right, so I want to let the folks in the comments section keep them coming, and also I'm going to throw this out there. If you want to put a grade on the overall, keynote, do it. But also, don't do it and just throw it out. Give us a little something that we could see why the rationale behind it, and maybe Paul and I will discuss it before we make our final determinations after we get through the cavalcade we have coming up here. All right, so we're actually kind of close to being back on time. This is cool stuff. So we're going across the pond, and what time is it over there? It's in some places, I guess it's almost 8. In some places, I don't know, maybe almost 9. Alan wants to throw in a "Let's Go Mets" for some reason, but that's okay. So let me bring up. There they are. Wait a minute. I kind of feel
I'm hearing
sounds like
echo.
There's the echo. Let me see who I think it might have been when Silvana came up. Yeah, I just muted Silvana. You have a bit of an echo. Maybe if you have a headset you could use or some earplugs. Oh, wow, you got them on. Let's see what we have again just to make sure. Yeah, there's there's an echo.
Big echo.
Silvana, why don't you I'm going to put you on mute. Why don't you try going out and coming back in again, and we'll bring you back in and see if it works. But in the meantime, let me go to the UK. I don't know which part of the UK each of these guys are from, but on my right beneath me, I don't know if that's the way that you guys are seeing it, but right beneath me is Jeremy Cox. Where are you calling in from, Jeremy?
Yorkshire, up in the north.
That's cool. I actually grew up in Lancashire.
It's just across the border.
Yeah,
The right side of
Lancashire.
the border.
Yeah, it's actually in Delaware a little.
Yeah, different. Slightly different.
Principal analyst. What I used to know you from Ovum, but it's not Ovum anymore. What is it?
Omdia. They rebranded at the beginning of the year.
Yes, Omdia. Thank you for joining us. And next to you is the punker, although he doesn't look like a punk guy right now. Adrian Swinsko is the CX industry expert, thought leader, influencer, all that. But he also wrote the book Punk CX, which I just like saying the title Punk CX. It's a good book, but I just like the title too, man.
Thanks
for joining us.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, I mean, so we can get started while we wait for Silvana to pop back in. And
she's in. She's here. Let me see if we can bring her back. Let's see what we got. Nope. Silvana,
is it better now?
No echo. I mean, it sounds like you're standing by your helicopter on your way out, but there is no echo. So if we can make this work,
I'm good.
Okay,
good. No
so why don't we do this? Why don't we ask Silvana to give us her first impressions of it, and then when we get to Adrian and Jeremy, we can mute her, and then we can kind of go from there. All right. So Silvana, give us your thoughts.
Perfect. First, I always learn when I listen to Marc Benioff, so it was really fun listening to him. And I think he's very intelligent in how he builds his speech, because he has a message for everybody. He has a message for employees in terms of sense of belonging, the Ohana. We are giving back the purpose of our company, our giving to society. Actually, he started with this thank you and more or less being very honest and truthful to his own purpose as a company. So I like the message he had for employees of Salesforce itself, of the whole community. For customers also, because he used customer stories. For us, they're pretty basic. I mean, you talked about the Bentley, the comments we had in the first panel. Yes, but he is actually able to reach any customer, those who are the first time at Dreamforce, those who are the first time thinking of buying Salesforce. So it was actually very intelligent to use the different kind of customer stories he used in his speech. He was also able to give a product elevator speech, talking about 360 and giving really a good view of what Salesforce is able to do and tackling digital transformation. For analysts, for all of us, he also had some messages, talking about the Slack integration, talking about single source of truth, talking about stakeholder capitalism. The first time I heard it with Salesforce, stakeholder capitalism, really also going into the responsibility what companies have for giving back in a more extended way. And he had messages for investors as well, talking about we are the #1 CRM in the world. We will be 25 billion turnover next year, and giving the vision of the future with Hyperforce. So actually he was able in this 1 hour tackle all the different types of audiences that he had and give a really down-to-earth, straight to the point message. So that's my evaluation.
All right, let me ask you one further question, and then before we go on to other people. But so but I've publicly stated many times, you're to me one of the world's leading experts in not organizational change and culture, right? And obviously, at least if you actually believe anything I actually ever said, it's Salesforce is. The power of Salesforce is their ability to externalize their culture. And I've never seen another company do it as well. Do you think that, given your discussion about what Marc was doing, do you think that if all those different listeners groups, I'm not calling them a segment, but all those different listener groups actually felt that externalization of culture? Do you think he succeeded at that? Meaning he said, well, wow, this is a company that I might want to participate in or be with or see as greater than just a company selling me stuff. Did he succeed at that? Did the company succeed at that with the totality of the presentations? Did they fail at it? Did they do okay, but they had some weaknesses? What's your take?
No, he couldn't. But he couldn't because we are not there. If you go to Dreamforce, you feel it, because you talk to people who are part of Salesforce. You talk to everybody there. Here, there is no interaction. You cannot feel this Ohana energy that you feel when you're physically there. So this is very difficult to really put into a digital format. And yes, we all have to do it now because of the pandemic. But in order to transmit the Salesforce culture, you need to see them in action. You see them how they smile, how they interact with each other, how they help each other at the event, how they laugh with each other. And this is all of this. You cannot just, you don't feel it in his speech. No, he wasn't able to do that.
Oh, fair. All right. I mean,
whoops. All right, I'm gonna mute you, Silvana, because the helicopter is kind of. All right. What about you, Jeremy? Why don't you tell us your initial thoughts of what you heard?
Okay. I'm a great fan of Abraham Maslow and the Maslow's triangle. And what I saw was Marc talking right at the top of that in terms of the altruistic purpose of businesses, which I think, is something that hopefully most of us would like to see. But then it sort of drops right down to the sort of transactional. And even the demos we saw were sort of pre-canned and very transactional. And what I'd like to see is something more kind of higher up the Maslow's triangle in terms of the customer experience and what that really means to the, if you like, the victims of enterprises. What's their experience really like? And I just didn't hear much, if anything, along those lines. It struck me that it was kind of, we've got some great tools for predefining workflows and responding to customers who, if they act in kind of predictable ways. But if they act in chaotic ways, as most of us do, how is that done dynamically, and how is relevance at every sort of interaction point teed up? And I just haven't heard anything from Salesforce, and I've been sort of digging at this for a while now on what is their vision around the quality of the customer experience as a kind of and then of course not just because we think it's a good thing, but that sort of symbiotic relationship between the business and its customers, as well as the outside world. I think we heard about the outside world, those altruistic comments from Marc, but we haven't really heard anything about the customer experience. So that's my sort of takeaway. It's what wasn't said.
So one question for you. So if take the entirety of the hour as a whole, not just Marc's speech, what would have made that work? What would they, if you were piecing together an answer to your own
question,
knowledge of shortcomings, what would they have to do to make it work?
I think Brian Solis kind of touched on it when he talked about humanization and sort of putting the human into the interaction, the story there, the empathy elements, understanding the customer's context, as if you were going into, like when I go into my local butcher's every Saturday morning, and I know this is very easy in a genuine one-to-one kind of environment, face-to-face, but we have the technology now to scale that and scale that experience, and it's a sensitivity to the customer's context and what they're trying to achieve. So I think there are, some other vendors I think have probably done a better job at that, and I'd like to see more of that, and how they're putting the heart into the experience, not just the transactional head.
All right, that's great. All right, so last but certainly not least for this panel is Adrian Swinsko. Not to put any pressure on you, but we only got like 2 minutes, dude. So
yeah, you can.
Can you give us your first impression, your first takes of what you saw, man?
So I thought a lot of it was really, really interesting, but then as an overall sort of thing, I'm like, I didn't get it. A bit like to Jeremy's kind of comment, it's like, if you talk about business being the greatest force for change in the world, or a platform for change, and you start talking about stakeholder capitalism, and then you mentioned social enterprise, and you talk about all these other kind of things, it's like going, okay, have a vision, right? Tell us where you want to take us, and then tell us how all these different elements are going to help us go there. I thought, kind of thinking about all this sort of like stuff, I thought there's some really interesting stuff now. I'm completely intrigued by the Slack acquisition, and how is that going to balance out the sort of the customer side of service and experience, and is Slack, because it comes as a platform itself and an ecosystem, which is what Salesforce is, and are they going to fuse them together so we end up getting the development of the employee experience, and then assisted service and assisted experiences for employees, given that we've moved to this new mode of working for many people. And so I thought there were some really, really intriguing elements to it, but I just didn't really get the whole wrapper. You're talking about wanting to change, you talk about all these different sort of things, but I was a bit like, I'm not really seeing I'm not getting the grid coordinates where we're heading for. And I don't know if that was kind of in his kind of mandate or not, but that was kind of almost what I was thinking. I was a bit like, I've seen other vendors and other CEOs could talk about it and say, like, this is what we want to try and do, and this is how it all kind of plays out. And I was a bit like, I'm not sure. I was intrigued. I felt like I almost had to make up the movie myself. and figure out where all the bits kind of went. And so that may be being harsh, but I know I've never been to Dreamforce, but its reputation precedes it. And I know it's hard to replicate it in a digital format, but from a perspective of the HANA and the Trailblazers and and Dreamforce itself, I thought I wish they'd told a better story, or Marc had told a better story.
All right. So one last question for you on that is, it sounds like part of what you're saying, and that correct me if I'm wrong, is that there was really no strategic direction that seemed to come from this, right? Meaning it, and again, I'm not saying that that's how I'm looking at it or not. I'm just sort of trying to interpret what you said. Meaning on the whole, you saw the elements, but you didn't see where it was supposed to be going from those elements, right?
Yeah, I think there's some really, really, really positive and really hopeful kind of allusions and references in there. I mean, I thought the Rhode Island case study was exemplary. The idea that they moved so fast and helped them establish a contact tracing kind of system, which I'm just like, we're in the UK and I'm like going, why? You're like, why not here? And that for me was just like amazing. That's inspiring. That's kind of fantastic. So it's almost, it shows you the power of the technology and the power of the company and the power of the community. And I was like, brilliant. How do we magnify that? How do we turn, in Metallica's words, how do we turn that up to 11? And do more of it, And that's kind of what I kind of learned. So the strategic direction and the vision, kind of like, this is the art of the possible. This is what we could do. I didn't quite get that. And that might have been just me being way too hopeful. I'm an optimist by general. I'm a hopeful sort of guy, but I see the power of the tech. But I wanted the vision to be painted a bit more, sort of like, this is what we could do. Just imagine if.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine.
That would have been cool.
Perfect. All right. We really appreciate you guys hanging in there, because I know it's late over there. But we really, really love having you get your take in. And you could, we don't really have enough time to do it here, but if you wanted to, in your comment section, if you wanted to leave your grade and why you graded it as such, that would be great. Because then we'll have like a whole record of this stuff and we could talk about it further beyond today. So thanks again, you guys. Enjoy the evening and definitely hope we could talk to you sooner rather than later. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks to all of you.
All right, man. We are moving with rapidity into this here. All right. I know. Got to keep it going. All right.
Velociraptors.
I just want to make sure I get the right three, because I'm looking in there and I'm like, man, everybody seems to be up in there. So let me bring in Maribel Lopez, Dave Smith.
Yeah.
And where's Cheryl? Up north, Cheryl Kingstone.
There she is.
Hello. Everybody is in the house. Maribel is from Lopez Research. She's, just a foremost thought leader in all this kind of stuff, particularly mobile. I mean, really mobile stuff. Cheryl Kingstone, coming all the way from Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm American, but yeah, I'll stay in Canada here for a
coming straight out of Ontario. Okay. No, I don't know where you're actually coming straight out, but from 451. I just like saying 451. It's such a cool number. Anyway, and then Dave Smith, former Gartner, now Inflow, and now is it Inflow Analysis?
Yes, sir. What up?
Our first what up of the day. So thank you. And what up to you back, sir? All right, so let's get into it. You guys saw the keynote. Let me go to Maribel, because she was like chomping at the bit. She was already leaving comments in the private section. So Maribel,
I was afraid to. Go ahead.
Maribel, give us your first impressions of what you heard.
Okay, so it's really hard to replicate what was Dreamforce in a virtual format. And some of the things that they would do really well in the in-person format was you saw the customers, they stood up, there was a lot of shout outs with a lot of this customer's doing this customer's doing that. I felt like we missed some of that. And I think it could have done it digitally. And I just think that there was an execution challenge of trying to get all those little vignettes into a shorter keynote. We heard some interesting things. Okay, I'm just going to step back and say, my overarching thing is I'm going to be controversial and say I don't think there's much new under the sun with the customer experience concepts that have been laid out as they are today. I think it's all about execution now. I think it's all about practicality. I think that's what they were trying to get at. And sometimes it's just not as exciting for people because we're like, what's the next great new thing? I mean, okay, we're talking about data integrity. We heard a little bit about the employee experience, which I think is really important going forward. To have a good customer experience requires a good employee experience. And we saw a little bit on some industry focus as well. And I think 2021 is going to be a big year on focusing all this tech and tools on industry.
So follow that through a tiny bit. So to your point, given you can't replicate a live experience entirely, and maybe they could have done it better, but you generally can't. And at the same time, there's nothing new under the sun. And you, as you pointed out, it kind of leads to, well, and Salesforce, part of their power is to they make vision kind of exciting. Right, they do, meaning you actually buy into their vision, and that's a real strength they have. And you're basically saying, well, that this is not. Sounds like you're saying that not the environment, nor are the things there to allow that to even happen. Is it that?
It's a little okay. So it's a little bit of both, right? So in a way, I felt that this keynote highlighted things that have been broken with CRM and CX that needed fixing, right? So it was right. I mean, you're with me on this one.
What you're saying, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, customer 360. I mean, come on, how long have we been talking about customer 360, and we're still pulling out tools to make this happen? So, I mean, in that way, there's like nothing new under the sun. What I think was a real miss is that it just needed more customer examples across a broader spectrum, right? I felt like SMB was left out. We were talking about the Bentley example earlier. I'm like, Bentley? Really? Like that's an accessible company for the masses? I don't think so. So it's just, anyway, that's my take.
Cheryl, why don't you jump in?
Here's the thing, right? So I know the panelists before said they never attended Dreamforce, so they didn't really see the difference in what was going on, and they felt it missed the boat. But the reality is we're talking about 1 hour to get across what we used to do in a week with Dreamforce. That's very hard. We're also talking about how Marc had always been this big vision, and we used to hit him up and say, this is great vision, but give me the basics. Now we give him the basics and we're hitting him for a lack of vision. I mean, the guy can't win. And here's the thing, guys, is that we've learned this year that if we don't cross our T's and dot our I's, we're screwed, right? That digital platform is essential. Being able to scale in the cloud is essential. We've been talking for years about intelligent automation. I cannot tell you that companies have succeeded in that today. And then improving customer service. What did they announce today? They announced the improvement of cloud and scalability in a more modern platform. They announced the ability to come out with the table on customer service engagements there. And then they announced the whole, I just had my thought. But anyways, the whole point of the automation, right? The AI and ML. So when we look at digitally driven organizations, and I look at digitally driven versus digitally delayed, they are looking for things to connect their data still. They are still looking for intelligent process automation to reduce those friction points. And yes, they're still looking for real-time collaborations with customers, especially in a digital world. And if Bentley can do it in a digital world, selling $1 million, whatever they are, high-end luxury machines, yeah, I agree with Maribel. That's not a very, I can't figure out how to embrace that. But think about an old 100-year-old company now in a digital world having to shift. Let's look at it from that standpoint. Let's look at Rhode Island, as you said earlier, being able to turn on a dime using cloud tools. That was absolutely essential. We need more of those case studies. The one thing I'm just a little disappointed on is we didn't see what was going on with Main Street, right? Local businesses. So that's, I really agree with Bentley. In one point, I liked it because it was this old school trying to adapt to the cloud. But what I really care about, and something that Salesforce did I don't know how long ago, maybe Paul, you remember, it was all about local. And I do think we really need to make sure we go back to business. You said we were missing something on the SMB. That's a miss, right? So what are we doing to really empower these small businesses to succeed and shift in the digital world? How are we bringing together tools that they don't really understand and make them do curbside pickup? How are they going to leverage the cloud in a cost-effective way? Those stories were a miss. And I really want those stories because I know he has them. I know we can do it. And so that's really where I would love to see a follow-up experience on some success on how we've really enabled some of the small businesses revive in 2021.
Well, they did mention that there's a month of Dreamforce to go yet, so I'm sure they have them somewhere along the path. I don't know where.
It's like we
no,
really
I
have to
just
help Main Street. We have to help small businesses and local businesses. Everyone talks about curbside pickup. How are they doing it? You know?
Yeah, no.
Can I just throw in on the month of Dreamforce? Like, does everybody have to have a month of everything? You know what I mean? It used to be 5 days. I know, you know, it's like 9 weeks of Google Cloud, a month of Dreamforce, like 7 weeks of ServiceNow.
But Maribel,
time?
are you okay with the 12 days of Christmas though? That's the really important thing. Come on, man.
You know,
Get
you
that
give
right,
me Christmas, you give me Hanukkah. If it's got gifts and food
Hanukkah.
associated with it, I'm good to go.
Okay, we got to get Dave in here. I already see Lori McCabe like giving you the amen choir for talking about the small business. I'm sure she's going to expound on that a bit. But Dave, give us your take.
Right, yeah.
Give us your take, man.
Yeah, no, I think it was funny. I agree with what they were saying just now, but I think a lot of this keynote to me was us sort of filling the blanks a little bit, you know. So we heard all the announcements. They didn't really get into what they all really meant, you know. So I think for me, the Slack thing is just Salesforce expanding into sort of more of a network effect, you know, expanding their sort of base beyond the organization. And then the workforce engagement stuff was them trying to now marry, as Maribel was saying, the EX with the CX piece, right? And then sort of fulfill that little paradigm shift as well too. So we sort of have to interpret a lot of what was going on, but they didn't really sort of get into the stories that much.
So how would you, given everybody's overall comments, Dave, how would you tell Salesforce, okay, next year, Mark, I want you to cover this. What do you want him to cover?
Yeah, I mean, this year was definitely an anomaly. So, you know, he probably did the best he could in the platform that he had. But I think definitely the stories around the Slack story. What does Slack actually now mean? You know, to like I think someone mentioned Main Street. Right? What does Slack mean to Main Street? And what does that also? What does the workforce engagement stuff mean to Main Street as well too? It's like what does stuff actually mean to me as a worker?
Yeah.
Man, all right. That was good. That was a blazing 15 minutes. I'm going to ask you all, if you could, because we just don't have enough time to do it now. If you could leave your grade for the event and a little bit more of the rationale behind it in the comments, that would be awesome. Because we're going to just kind of bring it all together and see what we got at the very end. All right. Thank you so much for your time. This is great. And we hope to see you sooner rather than later, because, you know, being in this room all the time is kind of getting old. So
Wait. I've got one of my Dammit dolls back there. I meant to show you. You know those.
It was worth you doing that just for that extra. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
Big hug. And one more. Oh, Cheryl took herself out on that. That was great. All right, man, this is going good. This is a lot of good stuff. We're going to finish it strong. We got our last three analysts, influencers, talking heads, whatever you want to call them. I call them friends too.
That's right.
Jesus Hoyos, Lori McCabe, Anand Thakur. Oh, this guy has got his popcorn out. And
popcorn.
He's got his popcorn ready.
You put that thing about being more cinematic, literally.
All right. Okay. So you guys are our final panelists. This is it. We've reached the end.
Best for last.
Save it. Well, okay. Okay. We'll say that. We just don't want anybody else getting angry at us. That's all. Okay.
They're already gone.
So save the other best for last.
So is everybody else. That's okay.
All right, so I'm going to go to my fellow Blue Hen, and our finally people are going to know what a Blue Hen is because we now graduated from a school that can say a president went to the University of Delaware. Lawyer McCabe, thank you for coming and give us your initial first thoughts of this.
Honestly, I feel that since we all had a problem understanding how they were pulling all this together into a coherent story, the average business, person, decision maker is probably just as kind of overwhelmed by it. And I think they missed two big opportunities to make this real, Cheryl said, to SMBs, not just the SMBs that are really struggling to survive. And we know that 40 to 50% of them are, but all those new businesses starting up, who are they going to turn to as they start up? Something new, probably something different, something with a, better way to build the mousetrap kind of thing. I think they missed an opportunity to really make this Salesforce story real for them. I don't see how anybody out there that isn't already a Salesforce customer, that is a business owner, can grab onto this.
Okay, so
all right, bring it back.
So so one question then. So, Cheryl made the Main Street comment. You're obviously talking in that direction too. At the same time, they're dealing with enterprise customers, on the large scale as well. They're also dealing with the public-private partnerships. To your point, again, how does it all come together? So if you were, and you can keep this, make this as elaborate as you care to, but if you were effectively trying to give Salesforce an idea of how they would pull it together, what would be your sort of central thrust for Salesforce's go forward strategy from now?
They have to figure out a way to, they're trying to do this with Salesforce Essentials, give people a starting point to dig into some of, quote unquote, the essential sales and service stuff. But they still have a big gap with marketing, right? And marketing is probably more important now than ever.
Yep.
So they need to make that story, I think, a lot stronger. And then they need to just tell the story with customers that are successfully using this either to stay alive or to launch something new. Because for every business that goes out of business, there will be, 10 trying to replace it. And so I think that opportunity is very big, and they should be focusing on it. I know I'm biased, but those small businesses, some of them never make it, but some of them grow, and it's important to be relevant for them right now.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jesus Hoyos, who is thought leader, CRM, CX, all that kind of stuff. All right, first impressions, man.
Well, first of all, I believe that Dreamforce, this one, I know it's going to be a month long, whatever it's going to be. They need to turn this into a live streaming event. You log in, you register, and you get the keynote, and you go and get specific lectures based on what you know. Playlist, Netflix, type of a service, because they have so much content out there that is confusing. And if they have a platform where I can go and find that content and connect to the right person, which are the things that we do at Dreamforce physically, during dinner, a coffee, walk with me, from one place to another, that part, I think they missed that opportunity. And I think, they missed the point there that, they did not innovate. I was expecting them to innovate. And the reason I'm saying that, because in the last few days, I started to see TV ads and the YouTube ads. So out of the sudden, I was expecting, the bar over here, and, it was here. And we've got to wait and see, because, they still have a month to go. Okay. So that's, all the stuff that we're talking during the comments, we wrote during the comments, But I want to be very specific about, any market, enterprise or small business. We had the pandemic, and, they have the right tools, the tools are really agile, And I was hoping then to say, listen, I have a solution for you. You get Social Studio, you go, you get Pardot, you get Sales Cloud, you get some elements of Service Cloud, and you get Marketing Cloud, all for one pricing for that segment, for that industry. And we're going to have the right partners to have you up and running and be able to execute. And that's the promise from Salesforce to the market to be able to, to execute. So all those people have issues, trying to deploy technologies, they can do it. And there's other tools out there, from Shopify to the Soho to the Microsoft, who are doing that directly or indirectly. So I think they miss the point, especially for the small business market, because it's not about buying Pardot versus Sales Cloud versus Marketing Cloud. It's about an ecosystem that you can execute. And I wish I was hoping this cloud, Customer 360, which is fine, whatever we want to call it, show me that today with the existing applications. Don't tell me about the basic core, because today, as a small business, we need that. Today, as a business unit and a large organization, I need that. As a small company that is growing in Latin America, I need that. Okay, be quickly, be able to execute. So, I think they missed that point. And they're great. They have the technology. They were able to innovate with Word.com and do a bunch of stuff. But who knows? There's a lot of stuff going on today in the marketplace because of COVID. But I think that's part of what they needed. Something to impact. They already have all the toys. They don't have to come up with more stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Hyperforce. I think I know what it is, but I'm trying to figure it out now. But this, you should be able to install that in the private cloud. I don't need that now. I need to be able to sell, to market, to sell, to provide service, do journeys integrated, not the customer journey within Pardot or the customer journey within the Sales Cloud or the Marketing Cloud, all integrated. Give me one solution, one price. Let's go after one particular market, make some impact, because they do have all the toys. You want to do something with Salesforce, you can start yesterday and you're done today. But you need to be able to put that message properly so that people can execute.
And I don't really get with MuleSoft where they haven't been able to make integrations and a package like that much more seamless already, honestly.
It will be a killing. For the small market,
if they can really deliver what you're talking about, and they, like you said, it seems like they have all the technology they would need to do that. It could really be much bigger in SMB, because even though they have good market share, it's still just a tiny fraction of all those millions of SMBs out there.
Well, I always want to use this analogy. Everybody complains about Amazon. It's too big and it's taking business away from the small business. But, I see, at least in Latin America, the fintech market, the e-commerce market is going beyond Amazon. Amazon is opening the door, and Salesforce is doing the same. Salesforce is opening the door to all these other CRMs that we see out there, that we see in the market. All those 7,000 applications that we have in the MarTech, they're out there because of Salesforce.
All right, you just did a perfect segue, Jesus, because you said the magic word of MarTech, and what we have down here in the lower corner here is Anand Thakur, who is, what's your nickname? Because it's not Mr. MarTech. What is it? What did they call you?
You're on mute.
You gotta unmute yourself there so we can hear that. No.
Hey, all right. I actually know how to use this stuff. All right. They called me they've called me the Midas of MarTech, and it's been it was actually a part of a collective of folks who I took a lot of investors and said, hey, we're going into the MarTech arena about a decade ago, and turned out that was probably a pretty good call. But the Midas of MarTech, and it's translated a lot of stuff. But a mentor of mine who passed away last year, he actually gave me that name.
Yeah, he's a little too modest to talk about his involvement in the with Scott Brinker and in that huge diagram or MarTech. He was involved with that in the early stages, but.
Yeah, and the reason for that was, I've loved the use of data, especially coming from the energy and financial markets, and I've waited a decade for marketing to get to a point where we now can start to accurately describe, the customer and such. But let's talk about Dreamforce.
Let's do that. Give us your first impression, sir.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different take. Certainly, it's obviously one thing for sure that I agree with is that it was kind of rushed, and it was, they really did have to squeeze a lot in. So you got to applaud, the team for trying to put this together. I don't think that the SMB market was at all considered as part of this. I don't think it was a miss. I think it was very intentional. Right now, the theme of all those case studies was primarily, focused on changing traditional to, transforming traditional businesses. And that's really where the growth is. I mean, most high tech companies, they already understand CRM. They already understand, yes, they may have challenges tactically or from integrations or whatnot, but they already, have a good feel for how that needs to work out. But the traditional businesses, the Bentleys, the governments, the telcos, right? That is where a lot of the transformation, the 3-year plans have turned into 3 months, the 5-year plans into 5 months, right? Those things. That's where he was trying to hit the nail on the head, was to go after that conversation. That's where the growth will be for that.
See a lot of traditional small and medium businesses that need the same kind of help.
They need it, but you have to also respect. I always look at a company's perspectives in 5 different areas. One is their community. Salesforce always does a wonderful job, and genuinely so, to support the community. And the Trailblazer effort has been a phenomenal thing, right? Brent and I always talk about this. Phenomenal effort. It's you have to appease the shareholders. You have to be able to support the partners and make sure that they are, fulfilled in terms of what's the opportunities in front of them. Certainly the customers, that's always the case. And I'll come back to that in a minute. And then of course the team at Salesforce as well. I just talked about the community aspect, but to address what you were talking about, the growth in small business, unfortunately, in the near term is not as profound as going after large traditional business enterprises. And that's where he and his team really need to focus on that. And part of the Slack acquisition was, in part, it was I might be reading too far into this, so take this with a grain of salt. But one, it's to go back to the traditional startup roots, which is what Salesforce was built on, right? It's been many years. I mean, Salesforce is a different company than it was when it started. We can't hold Salesforce to the same standards as once they once were before. And the other part of Slack's, potential acquisition, he got a really great deal for it. I mean, it IPO'd at $38.50, and now it was, $45 a share, something along those lines. It's a great bargain to be able to introduce a new community, a new kind of light into a lot of that thing. But really, the conversation was about traditional to modern. And then the secondly is that a lot of executives and CEOs have been speaking to their boards, particularly in quarterly meetings, about happy employees equal growth. Retention equals growth. So is the new growth. So I think you see a lot of that intentionally dropped in there. And maybe next year we might come back to seeing the SMB market, because I agree with you. New businesses will come around. I've actually started spending time, getting back into my own roots of building things and trying to create a website and, trying to integrate it with different solutions and systems and seeing what, creating an empathy around that. So, but I don't think that that's going to be this year. This year is really going to be, they had to pick something. And this is what they focused on. So I think that that's where they, where they try to hit the mark on the head. I do believe, though, it's tough to not have a crowd. If you've seen, I have gone to several Dreamforces, and Marc Benioff is a very different, charismatic. His charisma is very different, and his pace is very different when he's in front of a crowd. So this was very tough for him, as it is for many of the other leaders. I mean, we saw, some of the other ones out there, and they were struggling just being in front of the camera. And I think we can all empathize with that, right? How do you have energy in front of the camera, right? How hard is that to be out there?
Really do a great job yet. What I would say is a great job with this virtual type of event. I think Workday did a pretty good job. They made it much more kind of interactive with their own chat, like kind of Brent had in the StreamYard here. Or on the LinkedIn Live, that everybody on the Workday thing could be, all the customers and whoever was on it could be in it. But I don't think anybody's really figured out what to do. And I think, a lot of people are probably hoping that maybe next year they won't have to do this anymore.
Right.
But,
So,
a month of Dreamforce, a month of any conference is almost like.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. If I could just jump in real quick, and I apologize.
Yeah, we got to make it real quick, folks.
But basically, an always-on conference is something where it addresses Jesus's concerns. I want to see the details. I want to see how this is done. I want to be able to, enable my team to be able to do it. You can't do that in a traditional conference as well as you probably could in an extended period always on. No one's going to attend every single session.
Right.
No one's going to really have to invest that money, invest that time, but they could probably make notes and figure out how they're going to carve out their day so that they can really address that. So this is really an opportunity for Salesforce to say, hey, listen, we're going to focus on the internal operations because that's where growth will be, not only in terms of how Salesforce operates for companies, but also how, the growth will be for Salesforce with other customers and being able to enable them to operate that really well. And they can take advantage of this month to do that. So I think this was very thoughtful, and they've done a good job considering the situation in hand. And I think they were very deliberate, like I said, to wrap up, about why they were focused on traditional internal operations, transforming businesses. That's where really the growth of Salesforce and many big tech companies are going after.
Yeah, just still saying in 2 seconds. I mean, I think we need to focus more into talk less about transformation and talk more about execution. We're in COVID.
Great.
We know we have to transform. We got to talk about more execution. So let's see what Dreamforce brings in the next month, and let's hope for the best.
All right, so let's in the immortal words of John McKay, when he was asked, former Tampa Bay head coach, if he asked about his team's execution, he said, "Yes, I'm all for it." That's how we're going to end up.
That's great.
This has been awesome. Thank you for bringing it home for us. We would also like, as we've been asking everybody else, put your grade in the comments section. Give us a little rationale behind it. We're going to total it all up, and we don't know what we'll do with it, but we'll total it all up.
It'll be around.
It'll be around. You will be on the record.
Yeah, and the LinkedIn comments, you can put it.
Yeah,
in
LinkedIn.
There.
Just put it in.
Make it public. Yeah.
You can maybe one of you will be the 800th comment. Who knows?
Oh, we're getting close.
Is that extra bag of popcorn? Yep.
Yeah, you better get it ready. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thank
you.
All right, it was awesome. Wow, we actually made it through. We actually made it through. All right.
Yeah, boy, with all the glitches.
We actually only have a few minutes before the happy hour starts, but why don't you, just a summary, I guess, of your thoughts and your grade, at least your grade coming out of it, initial grade. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Dreamforce as a whole, it's today, right? So before I get to the grade, so I thought there was, on the whole, there was some sense I got of Salesforce's strategic direction from it, even though they didn't actually formulate it themselves in the discussion. I mean, I thought there were certain product releases that were indicators of some potential in terms of how they were moving forward, like the workforce engagement solution, the MuleSoft Composer, the public sector solutions. Those products were an indicator from my standpoint of Salesforce saying, okay, we're looking at the front end, we're looking at the back end, we are going to look at platforms and the integration of platforms and ecosystems, and we're going to move forward. I think to most everybody's point that that it is very hard to virtually produce something at the scale of a Dreamforce in any way, shape, or form. And Marc's energy, in front of a crowd was obviously a little more forced, and he was not totally comfortable, and that's just life, I mean, he's still Marc, and Marc carries things better than almost everybody I've ever seen. I think that the other thing they did, which I thought was very important, was point out the power of the public-private partnership on the with the Rhode Island example, and to that end, I thought that was a really important example, and that was unfortunately counterbalanced by the tone deafness of the Bentley example. There's no excuse for the Bentley, but on the other hand, there's not only a great reason, but do. I would have done even more of them if I could have, but I know you have to balance what you're talking to. So on the public-private partnership side, because ultimately those are the things that show how aware Salesforce really is of the fact that we are in a pandemic, we are in a world that's changing, we are in a world that's going to transform to something that we hadn't been in prior to it, even when we're out of the actual immediate danger. And they are great indicators. I thought, I love the company. They talked about they talked about stakeholder capitalism. They talked about the good they were doing. The public-private partnership was built around the good. I mean, the good came out, but there were gaps this time. There was the Hyperforce, which, to I think was Dave Smith's point, we're pretty much trying to interpret things and read between the lines, right? What was being said rather than getting an actual explanation. I don't honestly know what Hyperforce is still. I'm really not clear. And maybe that's my own, opacity, but I don't know what it is.
No.
So if I'm looking at it, I thought it was, if I'm looking at it against a standard set by Salesforce, which is not going to be the final grade, but I'd give it a C. But if I'm looking at it against everybody else, I probably give it it's basically the equivalent of what I gave Oracle, really, which is a B. Although, I'm sort of on the borderline of saying B minus, but I'm going to say B, right? Against everybody else potentially, but their own standard, because they set the bar for everyone, really. But that means the bar for themselves is higher. I would have just given it a C. But I do think there's some indicators of strategic direction, which is, back front office, being part of what impacts customers, employee engagement, being part of what I think all the pieces are being put in place, but they need to not succumb just because they're a good customer and have a great story and are willing to talk about it. They should never, ever put out something that, especially a company that's talking about stakeholder capitalism and social engagement, they should never use an example that literally goes completely counter to all those principles.
Yeah, I'm going to be real quick because we got a happy hour to go to. But I went to my first Dreamforce in 2004. I think there's about 2,500 people. I went to the last physical Dreamforce, which was just last year. There was about 170,000 people. It's an experience. It's an immersive experience, and I usually don't say words like that, but when you go to Dreamforce and you're amongst 170,000 that takes over a whole city for a whole week, you are immersed in everything they do. Yeah. You cannot replicate that virtually for an hour. And so I think they may have been a victim of the expectations that they set for everybody else. Not saying that they set it for themselves for this hour, but they're coming in off of another barn burner of earnings. They just bought Slack or announced that they were buying Slack for $27.7 billion. The whole thing, the expectations were too high. They were never going to meet it. And particularly the theme of the year that you talk about, that I think we got from our buddy Don Shorman over at Pega, is thematic to cinematic. This has to be a TV show. It can't be a concert where you go to 80,000 people. It was too hard to try to replicate that. I don't know if they even tried to replicate it, but I think the expectations were for them, of all companies, to pull it off. And maybe that's kind of being a bit unfair to grade them based on our expectations for them trying to replicate the experience that you get when you go to a 170,000 take over the city week-long immersive experience. So I'm just going to put that out there. The other thing too is I think it was a misstep with the Bentley use case. Not that it wasn't a bad one. You look at the comments from people, it took away from the overall experience because they chose this company that is perceived to be something that is only attainable by a small percentage of people during a pandemic where a lot of people are really suffering. I think that one little thing might have overtaken a lot of the good that I think was a part of this. And then I'll just say the Hyperforce thing. I think you don't have enough time for that to hit and have a positive, overly positive impact when people don't know what it is. and you don't have enough time to fully talk about it, give people the real, oh, this is what this will do. And so when a term is thrown out there without having people really have even a clue as to what it means, it doesn't hit with the impact that you're probably expecting it to. Like you said, the messaging around the doing good, that's where they live. That's where they shine. And making the platform that allows people to do businesses to do good, that's the message that will always win for Salesforce, because they walk the walk and talk the talk. I think that got a bit obscured by some of the other things that happened. So for that, I'm going to give it a C, but I almost feel like I want to give it an incomplete, because I think we got to see what these 40 things.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's what I got. I think, I just want to say thank you to everybody who stuck around, who commented. I mean, we're very close to having 800 comments, which, when you think about it, for our first, we did a test watch party thing. This was our first real attempt at it. We had some technical glitches. I think overall, you guys really helped us to make this thing work. And thanks to all the analysts, thanks to Brian, he was in a tough position.
Yeah,
he had to come after that, and there's a lot of comments, but he did his job, and he did a good job, and we thank him for doing it. And we thank everybody for checking it out. We'll figure out what we do. Give us your grades in the comments. Give us not only the grade, but why you grade it like that. And we're going to do something with that for sure.
Yeah, you'll see it soon. Well,
all right.
Maybe.
So we shall see. All right, man, we did it. We pulled it off. I'm glad we were able to make it through. Yeah, it started out a bit rough, but it actually worked out pretty good. And thanks, shout out to our players and residents. El, Nicole, and Ginger. They saved our bacon. As they
did, big time.
All right, so I don't think we even got a chance to say what we usually say at the beginning of this, but we're going to say what we usually say at the end. I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and man, are we ready for a happy hour?
See you soon.
Let's go out on our 10-second pose. Let's see if we can do that. All right, here we go. We're going to do our 10-second pose. Here we go.